Futures back to the upside here this morning, looking to potentially snap a three-day streak where we've been starting anyways to the downside and then trying to work our way back to the upside ahead of some key jobs data to come, although we're not going to get non-farm payrolls on Friday morning, going to be delayed because of a potential of another government shutdown. We'll get the JOLTS number, however, we'll get the ADP number, and we'll also get initial jobless claims. That's a weekly number. So still some employment data to come this week. We also have more earnings on the table today. In fact, AMD going to be in focus after the bell tonight. We'll bring that to you live as it is released. Nice day yesterday for AMD. Nice day yesterday for Nvidia until about 2:30 in the afternoon, and then it fell off a cliff. We'll talk about that coming up. Palantir, meanwhile, the big headliner, big gap here this morning for PLTR. After a nice move after the close yesterday. Pretty good report right across the board. Some dark pool prints coming in here. Just disregard that candle. Pretty good report right across the board here for Palantir. There were some minor questions regarding the call I was reading this morning, but overall I think positive.
Yeah, well, when you're growing your earnings that quickly, that markedly year over year, Brendo, the market's going to take notice. Fantastic look for them, a clear beat on the top and bottom line. And U.S. commercial revenue, something that we really emphasized yesterday to keep an eye on. Brendo surged 93% year over year, bringing the overall commercial revenue also jumping. So U.S., sorry, let me just rephrase that. U.S. commercial revenue, 93% year over year. Commercial revenue as a whole, 137% year over year. So that's good. It's not as sticky as government revenue. Yeah. Government contracts tend to last longer than commercial revenue, but nice to see them jump into the private markets. A blowout earnings all around. Yeah,
and that was the one thing that Dara pointed to was the rate of growth on the government side was slowing year over year. But if you're seeing, commercial and other sales coming through on the other side that are growing exponentially, then, I mean, that's kind of what you want.
That's exactly what you want,
for a company like PLTR. We'll dig into that more. We also got this Tesla headline after the close last night, if you missed it. I mean, it's not really a Tesla headline, but xAI and SpaceX making it official, combining before we go public here. We were sitting here yesterday talking about, some rumors floating around whether or not this would happen. Actually does. Car company going to stay off to the side, left on the sidewalk. I think before we get this coming to market, a lot of people going back and forth this morning on whether or not this is actually increasing the value or not.
So this is really interesting because SpaceX doesn't even make that much money. They have a very, very high margin. So about $15 billion in revenue, about seven or eight of that is profit. So that's fantastic. But the valuations are almost Palantir-esque. We're talking about like 150 times, 200 times forward PE. So a lot of analysts were like looking and like, why would he want to do that? Well, because you have such a rich valuation on one side and it's profitable. Then you look at xAI and it's burning through cash to no end. They're building data centers through, in Memphis, everywhere else. They're having to accompany that with huge swaths of, gas turbines. A lot of people complaining about that. Make a long story short, a lot of cash burning on one side, income generation on the other, a little yin, a little yang. It's not really about the short-term outlook, Brendo, about putting data centers in space. People still feel that's like a 5-10 year runway.
And that's kind of hand in hand, right? One takes it there, the other one's going to use the power that's generated from it. So, I mean, potentially, I still think the AI side may have bigger upside, depending on, the time frame you're looking at. But, I mean, let's see how things play out. Anyways, here's 10 o'clock this morning. Keep in mind, again, JOLT's coming up. We'll get ADP this week. We'll get initial jobless claims. But once again, no non-farm payrolls on Friday. They're going to delay that because of the potential of another government shutdown. They are saying this one's going to be, if it does happen, very, very short, and they'll get it resolved maybe even over the weekend. SMCI, the other notable name coming up tonight on the earnings front. This one had a pretty good day yesterday, back above $30. So more to come. Big tech Wednesday and Thursday with Google and Amazon as well.
And the critical minerals, the
rare earths.
Yeah, they're really moving this morning. Gold, silver, and President Trump coming out with another headline. He wants to create a strategic minerals reserve. Where have we heard that before, Brenda? Oh, that's right, the oil reserve. So keep an eye on those. MP, SAR, criminal, they're all moving.
Yeah, and as you said, silver, gold, both back higher again this morning. I mean, ever so slightly after a couple down days here for both guys. Good morning.
Good morning, yes. Not a good morning for PayPal.
Oh,
you have it up already.
I mean,
So we talked about all these positive things, and then there's
2017 was a pretty good year. The Jays had the bat flip. There's probably a bunch of other stuff that happened as well. Well, my daughter was born that year. That's a big one. And that was the last time PayPal was at these prices. I couldn't.
Really? Okay.
Like PayPal, it's crazy. Like you got to go to like a weekly or monthly. They missed on the top line. They missed on the bottom line. They're now replacing the CEO. And we're at $44, which we were last here in early 2027. Sorry, 2017, what am I saying? So it's been, almost a full 9 years. And on the day that a firm gets an upgrade, it's like almost like an extra slap in the face. And on top of that, SoFi looks like it could be bouncing. There's fintech names that are bouncing, and they got the raw end of the stick. I didn't see this one coming. When Palantir was up double digits, I kind of figured, okay, well, that's going to be the biggest mover of the earnings names once it got to that mark. But yeah, not so good for PayPal.
I like the new CEO coming through. I think that will.
They got to do something.
Yeah, they have to do something. You can't miss on the top and the bottom line these days. Everybody's beating expectations. It's all about the guides. But there's Palantir up 10%, so that's good. So we finally give like a little, sigh of relief there, because this could have gone easily the other way as well, right? And so we see that commercial number. That's going to be that's going to be a big one that we continue to talk about. So it's just a nice print. The stock still has been beat up quite handsomely here, and we'll see if it can wind up holding this 161. So we'll have that on our mind there today. And then, oh man, treated like a meme stock, it seems like these days, is silver. So bouncing around again, up another 10%. I say another because every day we come in here, it's either up or down 5 or 6%. So here's another day where we're moving another 10%. So we'll see if it can finally find a base here. I feel like obviously that move was pretty dramatic down there. Gold also making a move higher. So we'll look at all of these. The US dollar as well today. Approaching 97.50 or so. Here it is on a 1 minute chart, starting to head a little downside there. You'd like to see a weaker dollar for some of these multinationals. We've talked about that. So here, this is coming down in this is a 1 minute chart. So just seeing what's been happening right now with the dollar. I think it's going to be interesting to see what the jobs report or the JOLTS coming, and then it's going to be a big week for economic numbers as well. So, dollar tapping out, couldn't really get to 98. We'll see if it can eventually make that climb. It was a nice week for US dollar strength last week, and we had talked about how that will affect, potential Fed decisions, although potentially not supposed to. We have Kevin Warsh coming through again, and then IBIT still at. It's funny, like silver's up 10%, gold's up 5 or 6%, and IBIT's just kind of just chilling right now. So we have Robinhood, we have SoFi, good upgrades from JP Morgan on Affirm, which I think Affirm is like this was. I've never really liked the business, obviously, and I've said this, buy now, pay never kind of stuff, but they actually have good quality on their credit, and that buy now, pay never thing hasn't really happened. But they're JP Morgan now saying that they're possibly priced right after such a 20% or so decline in the last couple weeks. So we'll see if JP Morgan is right about Affirm, and then SoFi today finally getting a bump to 22.50, right? So
SoFi looks okay.
I'm buying some SoFi down here. So we've been averaging into this position, and we'll see. We haven't averaged into it yet, but I think this is going to be a spot here on a little bit of an upgrade. You missed the 3% from yesterday if you buy the lows, but or the close. So we'll see what winds up happening. Actually, I think yesterday's low was the close. Yeah. So. Up a little bit here today, just kind of where we were yesterday mid-afternoon. So let's see if SoFi can wind up holding. I'm trying to put it on the note today for SoFi because it was upgraded. We'll see if we can find a place to get into SoFi here today.
Ooh, Adam James, abroad.
There we go.
Still abroad, we should still say.
Abroad, okay.
Well, there's a super chat. Took a second there. JP Morgan reaffirming a buy and ups the price target to $31, which is just adjacent to the high. SoFi, it does this after earnings, and we've been sort of noticing this pattern of dip and buy the dip after earnings. Now, obviously, it lost a 200, but I do like this on the weekly more so than the daily. Like, it's still in front of support. Looks like we're going to close this week holding that support line after earnings. I think that's where you get that go. But to the point of crypto, like everything, I shouldn't say everything, but a lot of things seem to be bouncing this morning, right? Like as bad as it got for gold and silver, they're bouncing. Chip names look pretty good today. You got the Palantir earnings. Obviously, PayPal's its own little story, but Bitcoin's still unable to even retest 80,000. Like, we didn't even try to test 80,000 yesterday. So it just feels to me like it's no change of plan unless we're breaking. You got to at least break 79.2 and retest the 80 before you start thinking bullish about Bitcoin. And that's what I'm going to be looking at today. Going right back to that 45 level. If we're getting a relief rally, this one needs to prove itself, Bitcoin, that you're out of the doldrums. So it is what it is. Like, obviously, there's going to be some strength, lots of strength in the market. Like WDC, Western Digital. Like, okay, we talk a lot about SNDK. We talk a lot about Micron. But WDC is now, they were the ones on their report. We weren't even that impressed with it. Like, we were just sort of going gaga over SNDK's earnings last week. And then all of a sudden, Western Digital, they sprinkle a little buyback on this bad boy, 4 billion share repurchases authorized, and now we're up 5.5%, and you're within a stone's throw of all-time highs. So there's lots of strength out there. The memory names just continue to rally.
Yeah, you could have SNDK like 580 yesterday, early on, and then it closed out at 660. So
This one was 240 or under 240. And we're now at 285. Like, all of these are insane. But we do have, Micron doesn't report until the end of the cycle, the end of the earnings cycle. But you can't seem to stop these names. Rally back on for everything except for PayPal and Bitcoin and probably a couple of others.
yeah, it's that's probably part of the reason here for Robinhood and SoFi to be down so much is also because of crypto. We saw Webull also. Come on, man. Come on, JP Morgan. You're not giving any love to Webull over here? This is $7, bruh. Come on, bruh. Yeah, that name just keeps on getting hit down. And, you think, again, part of the crypto, PayPal's not the biggest player in crypto either, but I feel like now that you showed that chart, this reminds me a lot of Intel, where if it's just going to like stand near these like lows of the last 40 years or whatever, like what Intel was doing, maybe PayPal, if it hangs out, down around here, sub 50 for a while, just going to take some good news to blast this thing through. So let's see if PayPal eventually finds itself some base here. XYZ. I think I still own some block shares as well. $58. So that's probably going to get, I was going to say that's probably going to catching some shrapnel on this as well. So some of these payment processors, man, not a good time for Stripe to come, I guess, guys?
Yeah, that would be the
hopefully Stripe is looking at this report and is like, maybe we'll hold off on coming through.
You know what, this level we're very close. I'm just sort of looking at this chart. I'd have to double check. But it would seem like the initial month high on PayPal when it came to market was around 43. So this is the IPO breakout levels from the first couple of years at $43. So it is getting to some pretty insanely historical levels.
Exactly.
So it is obviously going to be worth watching. I haven't looked at block in a while. But if this isn't on the trading radar, SSR down 17%, pretty much at huge breakout levels. Whether it's 42 or 43, I'd probably take some kind of a shot to look for a reversion on that bad boy. And there's some small cappers moving around too that I see in the chat to get Sharif excited about. There's this Texon Holding Limited. Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. I was about to say there's Texon Holding Limited. It's already back.
Perfect.
30 to 11, 6 to 30 to 11 on NPTs. This one goes absolutely wild. I saw Tisha in the chat was talking about this and a few others. So there's always something for everybody. Sharif, I know you'll be excited to see. Oh, well, you got the metals moving as well. So like you call it criminal, but critical metals should be in play today after the reserve criminal. It is a good ticker.
Hopefully there'll be more of that today because as we talked about about 5 minutes ago, President Trump wanting to create a strategic reserve, and then you're also getting the rebound in gold and silver as well. So that'll help play into the whole mineral thing. Can't wait to see that on Midday.
Again, all higher right across the board. I was just looking at some of the pharmacy names, pharmaceutical, I should say. Both Merck and Pfizer out this morning. Tale of two weekly charts for you here. MRK looking really, really good here, back above 113. I'm trying to get through to 115, I guess, would be this area over here if you go back to the end of 2025. Pfizer, on the other hand, not really doing a heck of a lot. It's chopping around here this morning. Merck warning about full year sales, Pfizer warning about declining sales, especially on the vaccine side.
Yep.
There's no buyers for these things anymore, clearly, so it's a tough story, I guess.
I feel like they're a little tone deaf. to, you know, kind of how people are feeling. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, stop saying vaccines. Like, give us something that we all want to talk about, like these GLP-1s. Get your ducks in a row when it comes to these GLP-1 studies. How many canceled trials is it now, Brendo? 2 or 3?
Lots.
They tried to do it twice internally, and now they're trying to acquire their way into the GLP-1 race, and neither has been successful. So kind of a kiboshed problem with them now. The issue is they've been so good, I think, over the last 3 decades of having a good product pipeline, you know, whether it was Zithromax or Viagra or Norvasc. There's just so many different major drugs, Brendo, that, you know, touch major problems, not small TAMs, large TAMs. And I think the last 10 years, that really hasn't been their moat. So.
No. But that's like that, then that's the biggest takeaway, you know, they put all their eggs in one basket, and that basket's now bottomless.
Yeah.
And there's nothing else left at this point, or it doesn't seem like it anyways. I think a lot of people were looking for, okay, what's coming? What's next? Is there anything? And there just wasn't. So Pfizer specifically, not a lot of volume behind this move, guys, but heading back to $25 here in a hurry.
Yeah, I mean, unless you, hey, they got a good dividend, so that's, I mean, that's what you're holding your hat on. I was just on the Merck chart, because Merck actually looks pretty fantastic if you're interested in that space. I'm kind of an only Eli Lilly person right now. But if we're making the argument, oh wow, PayPal just, okay, remember I was talking about PayPal, that 42 level? Well, it's already through 43, just dropped another $1. PayPal's now down 18% and still going to the downside. If we're talking about things that have had trouble getting off the schneid, and maybe they've made some kind of a constructive bottom, Pfizer at least has the look of doing so. Like, it's the downward trend has abated a little bit to the point where the 200 period moving average is actually sloping up for now, which is the first time. Yeah, you know, I'm not going to go back far enough in the chart to try to figure out when the last time it was upward sloping. Just suffice to say, it was probably COVID. I'm going to guess. Sometime during COVID would have been the last time you had an upward sloping 200 period. So if it holds on to this 200, there might be like a good zone where you can get away with the old, hey, buy the dip at support. If it pops more than like the 10% that it's been giving you. And if it only goes 10%, you can always just take the dividend, maybe sit there as a stable part of your portfolio. But the way I see it, like, why not just be more involved in the stronger name? Like, allow Merck to settle down after earnings maybe and find that 50-period moving average. This has been working for a much longer time. And ultimately, you know, it comes down to better execution and better pipeline. And everyone's been waiting for Pfizer to make the right move, and they just haven't really been able to do it. So I think you just sort of stick with the winner. You could do worse than finding that support on Pfizer if you just want somewhere to hide, but it's still ultimately a pretty, not depressing stock. That's not the right word, because you can't say that. Like, it's actually made a bottom and been going sideways while other things continue to crater. But Merck easily over Pfizer right now. Yeah,
I like them all. I mean, I always talk about some of these, you know, the XBI or the IBB. These are the biotech sort of ETFs. And I'm really starting to, in my old man age here, starting to figure out, like, I have so many stocks that I own that it's like, if you just buy some indexes, then you're not really, because like Bristol Myers has a good portfolio behind it right now as well. You know, AbbVie, Eli Lilly's working on different drugs. So it's kind of like the more you, look, you can pick individual winners. There's no doubt about that. I think individual stock picking is incredible. And if you know what you're doing, it's great. But, you know, IBB, here's another example of sort of these ETFs. And you can see Pfizer is very, very choppy, as Neil was just showing you. You know, but the trend on a lot of these ETFs, you get them all in one basket. So I really feel like you're about to break out of some of these ETFs on the biotech side, right? Like, you're holding this 50-period moving average, despite, you know, this trial, that trial, you know, these earnings, that earning. Like, we're still pumping higher here. So I think that AI, just like we've seen with industrials, can really make a big difference in the space, and I feel like it is happening. You know, creating trials a little easier with the data to manage it, to run it through the numbers, to get these, even as Sharif mentioned, the vaccines get created faster. A lot of these potentially, and I don't know, I'm not in the business, but I would think that costs go down with AI as far as the development of some of these cures and and treatment. So yeah, I like the IBB and the XBI. So I think if you're playing that game, get a little bit of ETF action in your life. All right, we cannot have enough of this next gentleman in our life, and he's back right now. I think it's options. I'm going to go with options with Joe.
I think you're correct.
It is typically at 8:20. That's when we try to get everything rolling, guys. All right, let's hop right into the derivative world, guys. We're going to start things off with Palantir this morning, reporting after the bell yesterday. So we want to take a look at some of that activity. We have now surpassed that 155 level. Now, volume and open interest, relatively modest here, 16,000 contracts, 14,600 on the volume side, and a $15 spread here, guys. That's going to be expiring this Friday. This contract is now at the open going to be ITM. I mean, about $10 or so, a little bit less, $9. But your delta exposure sitting at 39 and gamma 0.02. Once again, you're going to see an increase in both of those out of the gate, just due to the fact that those are now are in the money, I should say. This was out of the money earlier. Now, the at the money IB, obviously, during the earnings report, you're going to have an increase in implied volatility. So you have that uptick there, 127.1%. All right, moving forward, guys, Apple steady grind yesterday in yesterday's session. That is $280 mark. Those aren't going to be worth very much, but the open interest still sitting relatively high, around 25,500 contracts, with volume around 17,400. Once again, going to be expiring this Friday. Your delta is going to be around that 0.09 there, guys, or so that 0.9 delta, which is essentially relatively cool considering out of the money contract. Once again, and your gamma exposure, cool. The closer you get to ATM at the money, then you're going to see an increase in those metrics. Now, as for the at the money IB, relatively cool here for Apple, 26.1%. We'll take that. I'm going to be looking at this as some bullish sentiment throughout the week in AAPL. Moving forward, it is unfortunate. Yes, this is going to be a deep ITM contract now, sliding down to around $90. That's going to be Robinhood and Company. Open interest relatively cool, guys, but we're going to go a couple weeks out on the expiration cycle. That is going to be February 20th. Now, as for the volume, 2,210, and then you can see, considering these are deep in the money contracts, you're going to have an increase in delta and your gamma as well too. The at the money IB sitting around 76.4%. Poor old Robinhood. Moving forward, guys, Oracle as well too, raising some debt here, guys. Open interest sitting around 11,100 and your volume around 1,540. Volume extremely cool, nothing substantial there whatsoever. That is going to be next week's expiration cycle. Now, as for the bid and the ask, a little bit of a wide spread there, guys. You're looking at $40. Might tighten up out of the open. Keep your eye out on this, and don't forget, you may not know what contracts these are, but it's very easy to depict, right? Delta, if you look at your delta and it's negative, it's always going to be a put. Put deltas are always negative, and your call deltas are always going to be positive. As for your gamma, cool as well too, guys. 61.9% at the money IB. There was a couple volatility pops in the pre-market on Oracle. Keep your eyes out on those four names, and we shall be back momentarily with some analyst actions.
Yes, sir. Definitely get it, Joe. And one of the names on that list was the unsung hero in the market yesterday. I think if you can even use that term, I don't know if you can, but Apple. Well, I just did, because all afternoon, Apple was the gift that the market was making a top. You saw late in the afternoon, like your shorts were working as things started to pull back in, but Apple was absolutely relentless. And you saw that going all the way up until basically like 5 minutes before the bell. I know it's down today, but this is a simple case of when you look back, and when we were live doing the aftermarket show on Apple earnings, there was nothing you could point to that you weren't necessarily liking. I mean, you could really, really nitpick the services. It was like, okay, like as expected, or like an infinitesimal miss there. But what happened the following day was just buyers come right in where they were before. Like it just went right back to, oh, well, there's buyers at 255. And then yesterday when it held the higher low, didn't expect that big breakout to be coming. But we're now above the 50 again on, well, okay, we're at the 50 period. I shouldn't say we're above. We're at the 50 period moving average on Apple. This will be a key price level to try to hold. I think a consolidation up here for a few days would be fantastic before you make a run at some of those highs. But it does have to, for me, it needs to meet this requirement of holding this 50 period on the daily, because oftentimes stocks like this get really choppy for a bit, or they either reject it outright or get a little bit choppy. And you don't want to get messed up in the chop. Let it sit there for a while, accumulate, and then I think this one gets back into the highs. It's a good, like if you're worried about AI, kind of hedge too, because you don't have the same level of risk on any dump in the AI stocks that you do with Apple.
Yeah, no, I have, thanks, Randy. Yeah, I have Apple written down as the #1 trade today. So, if it's written on here, then you probably won't get me to stop talking about it. So Apple, SoFi, Silver, Intel. So it's pretty easy list here today. That's what we're rolling with, and it should be a good one. So watch out for Apple, 268 long. I 100% agree. We missed the boat on that one yesterday. It's generally a stock that I'll trade the you-know-what out of. So today we'll be looking at Apple right here, 268, like right here, right now. This is a stock that, as long as the futures, and we won't punch into this thing immediately, but as long as the futures kind of hold, then I think that that's a decent call. I mean, even yesterday it takes off, then comes back and gives you an entry, and then after that you could almost have just played VWAP all the way. I mean, if you play it there, maybe you get out, but there's the move all the way to the upside, and you just got to figure that out. So Apple yesterday just kept on chugging. So I think, although Randy just brought us a banana, I think today's an apple a day keeps your P&L away from problems. So 268. I think if it just breaks there, then we can get out. I don't think it's too crazy. So let's wait to see what happens here off the open. I'd love it for it to base around that 268. Give me an idea, just like yesterday's trade on Tesla, where it was $10 or whatever it was. It's like you just had to sort of wait for it to do something down there. It made that huge move, and then we were actually able to buy this dip right there on Tesla. And then, unfortunately, we actually had that top as well, but on the short side, and then we got stopped out, and then it went all the way to the downside there. So we literally have this print yesterday and that print yesterday. So we nailed Tesla pretty good. We're going to look at that stock again here today. But yeah, Apple, one of the better ones. And then Joe talked about Palantir. And of course, when you're talking about looking at options on earnings, then yeah, I mean, Joe mentioned that they're expensive. The move yesterday was implied about 9%. So, you're getting that boost now from earnings. And whenever you outpace the expectation, generally speaking, you do get some positive flow into the stock off open. So we're going to wait to see if Palantir can once again get back in, not 180 today, but if Palantir, that's an area where I think I'll dump a couple more shares if we can get in there. I said I would sell tomorrow morning, which is today when we did our after show, but now we've sort of extended through and we talked about that 161 area. So this is like kind of the area where the 200 period meets, and if we can fade underneath that, then I think that's not a bad area to think about a sell of 159.50 in case it loses everything. But we're going to go much over these earnings reports on our rundown. So it should be another exciting day with gold moving, silver moving, Bitcoin potentially moving.
Apparently Fubo getting rinsed.
Fubo moving, PayPal moving.
Yikes.
Disney was bad yesterday. Disney was down 7%
Disney
yesterday.
was horrible
So that was not a great look for Disney yesterday. And then we had Netflix talk as well. There's Disney. Whoops. You want to, coffee man. I like that.
Sneak.
If anybody knows any good coffee beans, send us some coffee beans, because our machine can, you can put the beans in the top. We one time had
we
someone
never really
send us
do that.
all these coffee beans, and we put them in there, and it was really nice. But thank you, Randy, for that coffee. We always get, I was saying, we get the donuts. We love getting the Krispy Kreme.
Oh, it's something, yeah.
But I want like a big coffee, like different kind of coffee.
Even if there was like
Spoiled
a
as
flavored,
I am.
I love flavored coffee.
I said to my daughter, she comes out from hockey yesterday. She's like, "Oh, what?" Something like, "Where?" She said something like, "Am I getting?" Not, "Am I getting?" It wasn't a question. It was like, where are my French fries or something like that after practice, and we hadn't even had dinner.
Where are my French? Wow.
We don't eat until about like 9 o'clock or something most nights, to be honest with you, when she's playing sports. So we were like, no, we haven't ate yet. But I was like, what? So it was funny. I don't know why I just mentioned that. Oh, the coffee maybe it was.
Yeah.
But
Someone just said Black Rifle coffee. I've never tried it.
Yeah,
but
Black Rifle. Yeah, I've heard
good things about it.
Yeah. Balzac's. Yeah, I go to Balzac's all the time. There's one in Liberty Village, and there's one near my house, and there's one in the district as well.
Coffee.
Yeah, Blue Mountain Coffee. Yeah, anything. Yeah, exactly. But all right, let's go back over the desk. It's 8:30.
Remember that.
We were just talking about that Black Rifle coffee. It's,
Awesome.
yeah, everywhere now.
Have you tried it?
I haven't. I actually looked. So the guy that created it, I saw he was on Rogan one time. And after that, I looked into if you could even get it in Canada. Oh. And it was like, there was like one store in like Burlington or something around here that had it. But I didn't go any further with it. But yeah, I'd love to. I mean, it's just hard to get, I think. Market kind of crawling back to the upside here so far. It's 8:30, just worth a note. If you're wondering, no significant data points coming through at 8:30 this morning. 10 a.m. we'll get the JOLTS number. 7.14 million expected there, the forecast 7 million. Job quits in December, 3.1 was the prior, 3.1 expected here this morning. That's really it. And then coming up tomorrow, we'll get the ADP employment change. That's 8:15. And then nothing really until going into next week. Again, non-farm payroll is going to be delayed because of this potential government shutdown. That is sounding like, anyways, at the end of yesterday, I was reading a couple of notes on this. Sounds like if it does happen, it's going to be pretty quick and easily resolved.
That's my understanding as well. I think Speaker Mike Johnson was trying to push that through the House yesterday. We were worried a little bit, though, right? Because we had seen some of the contentions between both sides about wanting to defund ICE and not wanting to put the spending bill through, or the funding bill, I should say, through, unless, that was addressed. So politics getting in the way, as typically does, Brenda. Let's see if the market's able to kind of digest this.
Speaking of Disney, downside here this morning again, trying to hold on to basically where we ended the day yesterday. Pretty ugly day yesterday for Disney on the earnings. Quick reversal after the initial move was higher in the pre-market, and then we just went straight southbound the entire day, essentially went out on the lows. We're curling over back again. I was reading a note this morning on parks specifically in this Disney report. 25%, I don't know how they even accounted for this, but it was a 25% decline in Canadian travel to Disney parks in that quarter, which obviously goes back to the tariff side of things. And a lot of people not going to Florida as much specifically. So even, a company like Disney feeling that.
And this is that continuing story that doesn't seem to be bottoming, Brenda. In fact, it seems to be picking up a little bit more. We talked about this. We've seen it with Vegas. Some certain casinos now offering you 1-to-1. If you come down with your Canadian dollars, they're honoring it, as an American dollar. So you're continuing to see this weakness, and you're also seeing, state governors really trying to address the Canadian public directly, try to lure them in. But yeah, the parks revenue was good when you look at U.S. parks. International definitely had some stress there. I'm assuming, that's Paris, Tokyo, et cetera, where, possible resistance to U.S. sentiment could be plaguing that part separately. They did add a new director today to their board, Josh D'Amaro. He's named the next Chief Executive Officer. He will be supported by a team of senior executives who have worked seamlessly, I guess, for several years, to advance Iger's board initiative. So interesting development there, Brent.
Yeah, just coming across right now, in fact. Succeeding Bob Iger, as you said. Josh D'Amaro. Little bit of an uptick here on this, guys. Looks like the market seems to like that. New CEO finally for Disney.
Yeah, the ESPN the NFL deal got cleared as well. So maybe we get a little bit of it's not a dead cat bounce, a little bit of a bounce after yesterday's disaster. That said, there's more support down here closer to 100. But I mean, I'd see your Disney and raise you like a Carnival Cruise Lines, which is on my watch today for obvious reasons. We called it the sextuple top yesterday it's about 32.90, but effectively call it the 33 level. Just a much stronger look, and I understand, lots of people still love cruises, and Disney's got that going for them as well. But I just look at the travel space has been breaking out, especially after RCL's earnings, and this is one. you could easily get this break today. It's not a guarantee because you're still a good dollar away, which is 3 points and it's down. So in my note, I completely acknowledge if we get a pop through 32 that fails the prior close, which is 32.45, I might have said in the note 32.50, but effectively the same thing. If we pop and fail 32.50, then this 6-time resistance, to me, just turns it into a temp short for the day. But make no bones, I still like that breakout if we can get through that high. It'll be a 33 break, even if the high is like 32.90, but just more strength in these guys than Disney. So maybe you catch a bit of a bid on Disney in the next couple of days after these earnings and with this bit of a shakeup, or maybe we can join the trend to something which is already going.
Yeah, I always think a new CEO is something that will spark the stock and give it just a little bit extra energy, new ideas potentially, and yeah, we've seen it work for Gap and different. Lululemon got a new there's different aspects that could happen. It's not going to solve sort of earnings plays, but give it a couple quarters and maybe we get back there. So if you are stuck in Disney, I would say play a bump if you ever get anything into this 110 to 112 area. I feel like that's going to be a decent spot to maybe just get out of Disney and then think about, hey, if this guy is really the real deal and has some good ideas, then maybe you get back in if it breaks 123, 124 up here. So yeah, I think Disney's it's nice to see a new CEO stepping in, but yeah, this is day 2 play. So I'd still say stay away, and I'm actually looking to see if this 102 wants to hold or not, because that's very, very skies not blue heading forward on that break. Like you get that break, then you have a little bit of a problem, and your next kind of support area is at like 98. Like I don't think you'll hold 100 there. So I'd look for a 102 break lower, actually. Like that was sort of going to be one of the plays if we didn't. Well, I mean, it's a new story, but that's interesting. So let's see if it winds up holding. So maybe now you play long off 102, but I really think there's something to do there. We had NXPI yesterday, was another earnings name. Okay, really no volume, so we'll have to wait to see if anything's going on with NXPI. And then today we have AMD, of course, back in the chip space. So watch out for, another near all-time high, I believe, or at least a 52-week high of 260 and change. It's 267 right here on AMD. So if we're going to go over to a weekly chart or something to see what's going on with them, there it is. So you're getting ready right here, coming in today at 250. So you're pretty close to taking some stuff out here. What a month, what a 6 months, I should say, for basically AMD. Just sort of gapped through, and now it's just been figuring itself out up here, right? So what a wild ride this stock has been if you've been holding this one. So AMD from basically zero to hero. This was, back in, you talked about 2017. PayPal back in 2017, you mentioned was $44. AMD was $6. So now you're at $250. All you had to do was drop $1,000 into AMD back in 2016, and right now you're sitting on a pile of cash, So it's just like some of these long-term gains are just incredible in this space, and AMD is just one of those names. And we can look at many of these tech plays and see very, very similar bumps. And you're seeing SanDisk now just since its IPO, since its turnover from Western Digital gave you so much love. This was $27 back in September, last September, $27 up to $660 right now. So yeah, just what a machine. And that's why I really like those Trump accounts, getting kids involved early in the stock market, which is why my kids already know all about stocks, and we talk about them quite frequently. So it's like get involved in it, and there's Robinhood, maybe a good opportunity to pick some Robinhood up as well. Fidelity, I think there's going to be more companies are going to want a piece of this action. So I don't think it's going to be Robinhood by itself, but this is a decent area to pick up some Robinhood. I'm trying to buy some SoFi, as you guys know, as well. So okay, we are getting ready. We will have Luis coming on. He'll talk about some of the small caps and gappers and whatnot. And we are happy to announce. I heard Sharif announce last week that pretty soon, I'm not sure when. Maybe we can talk about it with Luis, but he'll be joining Sharif and Joe on the midday. So that should be really exciting. We'll see some trading going on there for an hour or so on the midday show. So that should be exciting. Let's go back over to the desk and let's find out more about that.
Tomorrow, in fact, 1 p.m. tomorrow, we'll have Luis on the midday as well to give us a little bit of a recap. So the concept will simply be, let's in the morning talk about what is setting up potentially in the pre-market. Let's in the midday or early afternoon have a look back at what happened then from, the pre-market. I mean, you were mentioning last week, you look at these a little bit differently than he does, but I think that's a good combination to see, two different perspectives and then how they play out.
Yeah, so what Brenda was talking about is Luis is almost entirely short only these small cap gappers, and basically the exact opposite, long only. So for those who kind of look at these with more speculative eye, and there's a lot of you out there, Luis is the guy you really want to hear from about how to set up these small cap gappers short. So make sure to catch that with us. It's going to be literally every Wednesday at around 1 o'clock. Things are nice and calm, Brendo, so he's able to kind of explain things a bit more nuanced. But as we've been seeing lately, Joseph and I, we've been seeing a lot more small cap gappers continue their move into what is traditionally the slower time period.
Yeah, lots to get to this morning. Let's bring him in. Luis Barbado joining us from the Real Trading Office over in Barcelona, Spain once again. Luis, good to see you as always. The week has been an active one already, to say the least, even though it's only 2 days old here. I just brought up this FATN. A few people were mentioning this morning. Didn't really do anything. I mean, it has moved here this morning, but most of this move came after the close yesterday. I mean, give me a rundown here so far this morning. What's on your radar?
Yeah, this is one in our radar, FATN. Well, it's moving 66%. It's a 10 million float, which is not very, very tiny, but it has potential to go up. We have stopped like in this area, 380. It is true that we are having a lot of volume and a lot of activity in the small cap, but a lot of them, they are fading during the day. They said, well, you say some of them keep running, of course, but it's very important when you are evaluating the short and the long side. I think in order to go long, it is better the first moments, let's say pre-market and first half an hour. If you check the statistics after in New York City is 10:30, 11. Even the ones that are going up start to fade a little bit because the lowest volume. The lower volume we have, the more likely it will go down. So we will wait in this one a pop to the VWAP in order to go short. We will not go long on this one. It has already gone up and it has already been destroyed. So it's only a short side on this one for us.
It makes a lot of sense if you take a step back and think, okay, a lot of these are running on some sort of headline. If it's a pharmaceutical type company with some trial data or something that's come out that's better than expected or along those lines, you get the initial spike higher and then people start to take profits on higher prices.
Yeah, first of all, people start to take profits, and also the traders who are more on the short side, we are waiting for the backside. We are not shorting front side when this goes up. So once we have lower highs or some consolidation area, a lot of shorts coming in the market because we have like a safety net to close the trade if it goes wrong. So, and all of them, most of us, we look at statistics. So even in each stock, you check what time of the day it's more likely that it's going to fade or pushing higher. So it's about safety net, safe stops, and probability.
I know part of your checklist when you're going through the little ones that are moving around on a day-to-day basis is having a look at, on a percent basis, how often do they end the day back negative or maybe just off the highs, essentially from when we put in a high to where it actually closes. Is there just a baseline number that you've seen over time where you could say, okay, on average, anytime a micro cap or small cap company makes a move like that in a pre-market, it's 60+% of the time you're getting that move back in?
Yes, 65% of the small caps that gap up over 20%, they close red after the opening bell. So if we take the open price, 66% of them close red. But that's not a law. First of all, what about the 33% left? How much do they go up? Because if I go short on these ones too, because the statistic is on my side, but those one goes up 300%, and on the short side, I'm gonna only make 50%, that's not an edge, right? So it's about not picking the ones that are likely to run and pick all the rest, more or less. And also, it's not a law. You have to check the news, you have to check the float, you have to check the country. So let's say we had today NPT, okay, what was gapping up before, very, very strong, NPT. And you might say, well, you know, it's a low float, it's gapping up, so the percentage tell me it's gonna go down. But first of all, it's a recent IPO, so we don't have a lot of data, only 1 year. Okay, so it's not very, a lot of to-back tests. So it's one check that it shouldn't be okay to go short on this one. Second one is a Chinese company. Okay, so if we are trying to avoid, when you short, you try to avoid the black swan, right? You try to avoid the stock that goes up from 3 to 10, 30, or 100. So this is, when we're talking about Chinese companies or Israeli companies, it is more likely that this happens. So you better avoid to short front side Chinese companies, okay? Even though the statistics are on your side, if you pick only one black swan, your career is over.
And we're all here to avoid that, obviously. The other end of the scale here this morning, SOAR, one that a few people were mentioning really, really early on. It looks like this thing has lost a little bit of steam. We did get a few questions last week when you were on regarding anything under $1 and why it might be best to avoid those.
Well, I didn't say it's something to avoid. I said, particularly me, I'm not an expert on these ones, okay? Because the different spread, because we have 4 cents trading here, not a couple of cents like in a stock above $1. That's first thing. Second thing, ECN rebates are different. So you don't get the same rebate. You pay almost always that when you trade, and you know over $1, if you add liquidity, we get paid to trade. So it's a different behavior, first of all. Second, I think in a sub-dollar stocks, there will be always a thesis about what's going on with the SEC feelings, with the probably offering or dilution in the stock, and very important, the non-compliant regulation of the Nasdaq. If you are an expert on these matters, that's great. You draw a thesis of why you think it's going to go up or down. But I'm not an expert. I check non-compliance. If I see that it has bid price, I am more worried about trading before the $1 round number and so on. But before you trade this kind of a stock, you have to have the knowledge.
When we talk about earnings plays here, if you look at something that is in a shorter term downtrend, Palantir, for example, we get the huge gap this morning. There was not necessarily a question, but a comment more alluding to the same chart pattern as you're seeing maybe on a weaker, higher time frame, small cap type of name. In earnings season, you tend to get, you know, even if it's a consolidation on an overall uptrend with a stock like Palantir, we're gapping back into some of those prior levels. Just from a pure technical standpoint, do both of those match in your opinion?
No, I think the microstructure of the movements in blue chips, big companies are totally different than in small cap because the players are different. Most of the volume in the small caps are traded by day traders who are intraday, very, let's say, scalpers, a lot of leverage, and we have some bots on high frequency trading following these stocks as well, but we have no funds, no long-term investors, and so on, no internal ownerships and so on. So the microstructure of the movement is totally different. I think you cannot apply the structure of a movement in a small cap in a blue chip. When we trade blue chips because of earnings, we try to be very careful with the level 2, how it moves, what the rhythm, if big bids are coming to the market, offers. So it's more about the rhythm of the stock and, of course, some technical analysis. But we don't apply microstructure movements on a small caps to the blue chips.
Luis, just real quick to wrap things up, as we said, you're going to join us on the Midday show coming up tomorrow. We've learned a lot about your pre-market routine. We've talked a lot about the process in which, you know, we kind of eliminate some of these small caps from the list and narrow down on 2 or maybe 3 to watch as we head to the open. Give us just a quick overview of the other end of the day when, you know, we get to the end of these trades. What is it you go back and review on a daily basis?
Yeah, first of all, I'm very happy that we are going to do this on Wednesdays, the market recap, because we will be able to check what we trade today, because I did the pre-market with you guys, but also we will look for tomorrow what was hot, what was in play, and what did we trade. So I think it's very, very useful to see if all these theses work out or not. And as I always say, I don't know if it's going to go up or going to go down or going to stay horizontal, but what I know is what I'm going to do if it happens A scenario, B scenario, C scenario. So once you have your best, your worst scenarios, the important part is what are you going to do? And that's what we will try to review tomorrow. How did we trade today? What stocks and what did it work and why and what not?
Great stuff. We look forward to it. Luis Barbato, always a pleasure. Great information. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Brendan. See you tomorrow.
Fantastic stuff as always. Yes, I have my small cap scanner up on my left here as well, guys. But aside from that, let's take a look at some of the analyst actions of this morning. We're going to start things off with the downgrades. And at the top of the list, we have Adobe once again getting the downgrade, guys, by Piper Sandler, going from an overweight to a neutral weight. Price target, $330. We're down 1 1/3 here approximately this morning. Now, second here we have Figure going from a neutral to underperform by BofA Securities. Price target being lowered to $42, and you're down about 0.4%. Now, Disney, yes, reporting yesterday, that is. Now we're down 1/5% this morning, guys. Price target being lowered to $135, but still an outperform rating. Morgan Stanley, giving that downgrade, guys. And then we have ExxonMobil. Here it is, neutral to underperform. You're down 0.7%, with the price target being lowered to $125, and that is XOM. Now, moving forward, guys, on the upgrade side, we have Affirm, Morgan Stanley giving it the nod. You have 3 1/4 here this morning with a price target of approximately $76. That is going to be Morgan Stanley. Now, FedEx also getting the nod as well, too, guys. Going from market perform to outperform, you're up 1.42% here this morning with a price target of $427. Now, as for JPM, guys, we're getting a price target of $280 by Robert W. Baird, and we're up about 0.5%. Now, Palantir, we're saving the best for last this morning, guys. Neutral to outperform, up a staggering 10.6% with a $200 price target. Once again, that upgrade is coming from Robert W. Baird, guys.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Joe, for sure. And upgrades, downgrades, it's always, well, obviously we're going to talk a little bit about Palantir. It's going to be in the rundown. It's a big earnings name from last night, no questions asked. Probably not as much about JP or the banks. I think SoFi is going to be in play a little bit. Obviously, PayPal for obvious reasons, and Fintech. No, but you can do a heck of a lot worse. We kept talking about, things that you can have to diversify, and whether you like the XLF. I was more XLF last year or early last year in terms of exposure in the sector, and now I'm just the Morgan Stanley and SoFi. I just want to pick those two. JP though, nice bounce, not even testing the 200 pre-moving average. It's one of those clean upward trends that you have to think about. It's almost like when I go from a daily chart and then I pull up a monthly chart. There's not many charts that just get better and better the more you zoom out. And I find a company like this that's basically the case. That's why you want to be invested sometimes in a stable bank. The Canadian banks here are pretty good too. They have a monopoly. It's a bit of a different story. But JP is coming off of, on the monthly chart, what looks like a kind of reversal candle. It'll be interesting to see if it can close back. If we close February above 322, that's going to be incredibly bullish for JP Morgan. So like I said, I prefer maybe a Morgan Stanley, but these banks, they've been performing really well. And when you zoom out and it looks better and better, that's when you want to be in that buy and hold mode. And I we look at those downgrades, and it's like Disney just keeps on getting the hits. I feel like it's like now, Disney hit earnings yesterday, and somehow they've managed to come up in a negative context 3 times already, and it's only 8.54.
For me, the big one, I already have the note. The sticky note's already out here. And I have SoFi written on it. And I know we had Affirm on that list, but it's the same kind of a upgrade from JP Morgan, just basically stating that to beat up to the downside here. What is this volume? I'm going to get that out of here. To beat up to the downside and potential bottom picking opportunity here. So I've been looking for something like that. So if JP Morgan, not to follow their tail or anything, but we saw yesterday that we would like to see the reaction around the 200 period. It looks like we're going to try to hold that. I mean, it's only one day, but $22. I wrote down 22.50. I believe, yeah, for SoFi, so 22.50. So if it does come into there, the 200 period moving average, we're going to take a long. So this is going to be something that's been really beat up, and we've been lost a lot of money trying to buy this name on the show before, especially on earnings, and just kept on falling straight to the downside. This was $27 or something on earnings, and then it closed that day at 23. So it was pretty bad right here. So this is earnings day 2 days ago on SoFi, you know, where it just could not find a bid, but eventually a bid has been found potentially for $22. I mean, you hit it there yesterday. There's the close. So it just goes out at the close. Like, this is really bad. Like, without JP Morgan, this is bad. This is probably well underneath here. So I do think that you are going to get some kind of dip buy opportunity here for SoFi today. And I'm looking to scoop it up. SoFi, let's see if we can get some 22.50s in y'all's account here today for SoFi. I like it for a longer term play, but I think today's day trade should be able to work as well. Already done 2 million shares. So SoFi on my radar on the upgrades and downgrades. Thank you to Joe for that. All right, yeah, it should be a fun day tomorrow on Wednesday, midday. See if we can catch some of that and see what sort of some color that Luis adds to these guys on the midday. It should be a lot of fun. So
well, the interesting side of it, I think, is Sharif always looking, I think, pretty exclusively, right, Sharif, to the long side. And with Luis being a primarily short side trade, it'll be interesting to look at some different names, because oftentimes the small cappers that we end up talking about or looking at on the show are not like Fat Pipe this morning. Well, okay, whatever, man. Like the company's name is Fat Pipe, and it's the one that's gapped up and making lower highs and under VWAP. So this is the one I'm going to use as the example. Like, unless this breaks back out above 350, you might not hear a peep about it. That said, it would be the kind of name that Luis would, in theory, I mean, in theory, would be looking short, because it's gapped up over that 20%. It's made a pre-market high. It's making lower highs. It's under VWAP. All that kind of stuff. So get a different perspective on things and look at some names that you might not think have opportunities, but absolutely and certainly do. So I think it'll be exciting. Tune in tomorrow, well, all day long, and then at about 1 o'clock, Luis will join that man right there and Joey Options on the desk. So yeah, a lot to get to. The markets, I mean, we're up, but we're slightly, I don't know, like, not rolling over is the wrong word, but we're slightly ticking a little bit lower here. And we just lost VWAP on the Nasdaq, but still above prior day highs for now. Probably another half a point to go before that would be the case. So yeah, a little bit of action in the market off of these highs, but that's why we have so much to go over. So the individual names that are going to be on the move, more so than that market, Sharif.
All right, I was just going to mention real quick, SoFi with an upgrade this morning, catching a little bit of a bid. We'll get into more on the AI side of things as well coming up in the rundown. But a couple people are mentioning SoFi back at $23 here, going back to 2 days ago after the close. It was JP Morgan on an upgrade to overweight from neutral, $31 on the price target here. Basically saying shares have declined 10% since the fourth quarter. Earnings call on Friday was better than expected. Mispriced down here for SoFi. Not much of a bounce yesterday. I think a lot of people were expecting that after the huge move down, but maybe today.
We're growing 1 million members, Brendo, year over year. Now you're 13.7 or whatever it was. I think it was 13 point something. That's kind of your best leading indicator as to what future revenue could be, because you're going to monetize all those users. So that's definitely a healthy growth rate. SoFi has definitely been one that I wanted to weasel into, and I really haven't had the opportunity. Deutsche Bank as well, boosting the price target, or kind of maintaining the same price target there, 26 from 27, maintaining a hold. You never really know how these different rating agencies are going to view different things.
Not a lot of volume behind it so far this morning, but worth mention, I think, for SoFi. Lots to talk about here, though, including the market here.
Yeah, and the SPY, we weaseled into that 697.5. That on the SPY, that's kind of the top that we've been really trying to close above. You'll recall we got back into that as well on the 28th of January. Couldn't really clear it. Got right back up there into 697.5. But we ended up selling off a little bit. We got down into 695 1/3. So that's going to be our first area of support because we're at 696.92 right now. So we're going to look to yesterday's closing print as our first level of support. If we catch a bid, we're looking to clear those 28th highs, which got all the way up to 699. That's going to be resistance level number 1.
All right, if you haven't done so yet, free stuff for you down below in the description. Top link will get you to the sign up page for the watch list. It has all your homework done for you every single day in a nice, neat package. We send it right to your inbox, everything that's moving in the pre-market and why. Let's talk about Palantir here, obviously, to start things off. Huge gap this morning up to 166. We're coming back in a little bit right now, but I mean, pretty good report right across the board. As we were saying, if you're with us, I mean, join us every day at 8 o'clock, guys. Come on. We were talking right off the top of the show this morning, the commercial side of things versus the government side of things, the key here, I think.
Definitely commercial, and you really like to see that because we've been always talking about, you know, them being a bit of a one-hit wonder with more government contracts, U.S. Navy, et cetera, many of the others that we've spoken about ad nauseum over the last couple of years. Let's talk about what they did numerically here. EPS coming in at 25 versus 23 pennies and up from 14 pennies a year ago, with their quarterly revenue coming in at 1.41 billion, easily topping analyst expectations of a 1.34 billion and rising 70% year over year on that top line number. COLX Carp said the results exceeded even our most ambitious expectations. Let's talk though about that commercial revenue. U.S., specifically U.S. commercial revenue, 93% year over year increase, Brendo. When you look at commercial revenue as a whole, 137% year over year bump. Palantir software is really gaining traction beyond government. Their AIP software just goes into your system, learns how you operate, looks for efficiencies, and then reports back to you. So it's kind of almost like a little bit of a wonder there. U.S. government revenue climbed 66% year over year, 570 million they brought in, pushing the total quarterly revenue above $1 billion for the first time. 41% operating margins, not bad. They didn't report gross margins, which definitely should have been in the 80s, given software typically is, but still trading, man, at 145 forward earnings. So it's rich.
And people love it.
People love it.
Sean.
All bought the dip, convinced we've found a safe entry, only to be hit with painful losses. But what if you could see where pressure was building? Somewhere most traders never look, in the options market. Join Spot Gamma Wednesday, February the 11th at 1 p.m. Eastern for their free live webinar entitled Vol Trigger, the #1 crash indicator. You'll discover how to apply options-driven signals to see when the bottom can fall out, insight every equities, options, and futures trader can use to generate an edge and avoid losses. Scan that QR code to reserve your seat and start putting Spot Gamma's top early warning alert to work for you. And if you had an early alert on Palantir and you alerted yourself to the explosive growth that this company has been having for the last 25 years, then you will note that Palantir had a great earnings call. And I mean, look, it is that explosive growth that we're talking about with Palantir. Their commercial revenues continue to climb up. Alex Karp himself said this was the best report he's ever seen from any company in his whole life. And Brendan brought that story to us. I'm not even sure if that's true or not. But, loves the company, obviously. A nice little founder-led business here as we continue to climb through some of these highs. But as I said to Sharif before, it's a great look for Palantir. They already went over the numbers. I'm not going to sit here and talk about the numbers again. What's the point of doing that? But we still breaking above the 200 period moving average. So that's kind of the nice thing here. Now we'd like to see it hold that. We've seen many, many plays. And even yesterday I said, sell the rip. So thought there was going to be a rip. thought about selling it. We said yesterday on the after show that, you know, I was going to come in today and sell a little bit, but now we're over that 161 area that's given to us on this daily. So I think if it breaks below and we can get below this 160, then you potentially get rid of some of your shares, because the pullback's been real on many of these names, man. We saw Intel, you know, just continue to crank lower. Not that Palantir's Intel, let's not insult Palantir here. But at the end of the day, we have a big move. It's exceeded its options play. It's higher than its expected 9% move, and those generally continue forward. So looking for when there's a gap, play to VWAP. Well, we're kind of already underneath that, so that's not a great signal there, but we'll use this 200 period moving average of 160 and some consolidation points here to potentially get long on some Palantir. It is not today on my sticky note, right? This is a day, literally day one play. I mean, we haven't really even seen this come out yet. So I don't have anything on here Palantir-wise. We'll look at it. If the market wants to punish it early and we're able to find a bottom like we do on Tesla all the time, then that would be my trade for Palantir. I think it's silly to sit here and say I'm going to go long at certain prices, because you never know. And I think it's just, we've seen this name get absolutely destroyed straight off. I mean, yesterday, something's wrong with yesterday's open. There it is. 151 down to 148. That's not even a bad move.
It's not that bad.
No, that's not bad at all. So I'm thinking that, you know, you could fall back into this 160 marker. But on day one of the play, you know, you don't have to do anything. Like I said, Intel's almost back. Like, Intel's above $50 again. It went from 54 to 42, you know, and then all the way back up. So Palantir on a nice move higher here either continues and we take that 166 break potentially off the open, or we just let it fall back in and wait till we find a base. But I'm not willing to sit around and let this thing run me over. I'm going to play the momentum, and if it's higher, we can break 166 long.
Yeah, like 161 was sort of that was the big level. So I think that's where I'd look for a mean revert if we get down there. But I'm just watching the 15-minute on Palantir, and that'll tell me, because we got up here, this is a lot of chop between 66 and then this 172 area going into the earnings, and then we had the drop off obviously late last week. So this 166 prior support level, if I see a topping tail candle on the 15-minute, which, you know, we won't know that until like 9:45, maybe even 10 o'clock, then I would look for the short into the 161. Outside of that, I'd probably look for some kind of a trend break if we dip down into the prior highs for PLTR. It gapped through the big key level that we were going to be looking at this morning. And I said, if we're into this chop zone here, I'd play a rejection of this chop at the 165, but that's going to have to set up on the higher time frame. And I just even had, Obi was like, wow, PayPal demolished. Yeah, I think it's a weird one, because the stock has been doing very poorly, yet somehow it's still surprising how bad it is this morning. So demolished is absolutely the right word. It's not even, it's not exaggerating it by even a little bit.
I mean, we're pushing 20% here for PayPal to the downside, $43 trying to hold here desperately. New CEO, I mean, they've at least come out and said, yeah, we're not doing very well currently. You and I were just saying, what is the business going forward here for something like
ripe for disruption, if not already disrupted? Didn't this new CEO say some weird stuff when he first took over, and, you know, was pounding the table that he was going to be the turnaround guy? I'll look into it, but I remember he said some stuff. And one way to drop your stock price by 20% is to guide low to mid-single digits profit decline for full year 2026, when the street was looking for an 8% profit increase. You're guiding a decline, they're looking for an increase. That's not going to work out. Adjusted EPS, $1.23 below the $1.28 expected by the street on revenue of $8.68 billion. That misses the $8.8 billion consensus. They cited, PayPal that is, a cautious consumer, which is, according to them, pressured by higher interest rates, sticky inflation, and softer brand trends. He says shoppers are increasingly prioritizing essentials over discretionary spending, and this is a very atypical quarter for these payment firms. Usually, this is one of their best quarters, as people tend to spend more around the holidays. But it's one story here that keeps being mentioned over and over, Brando. The branded checkout. This is their highest margin product, and it is severely under pressure. Rose 1% year over year. That's down from a 6% growth rate year over year, and that's kind of what the most pronounced problem for this company was they said, management that is, we're going to continue to try to take immediate action to kind of fix the branded checkout. And as you said, that new CEO, Enrique Loras at HP, he's coming in at the job effective March 1st.
2017 was the last time we were trading. I had to zoom way out. This is a weekly chart, just to give you some perspective. We're back over here this morning. So just disregard everything other than that, guys.
Yeah, like it's, I mean, I can remember when I used to use PayPal for a lot. And now, I mean, I just anecdotally, I mean, I don't use it for anything anymore. It's crazy how much it's fallen. But if we just get back to brass tacks here, if you look at the actual IPO early range, this had a very good, like the traditional IPO breakout trade would be you make a high, and I know it's hard to see, but down here it makes a high initially at like $43 or so, and then it heads down like a lot of IPOs do, and then eventually when you get the breakout away from that IPO price, you tend to get some explosion. Just look at, like Robinhood is a great example if you look at that same factor on the chart. So in theory, like that level, when you come back in, you want to see it do something and find some support. So it's about the 42 to 43 spot where it's made a couple of higher lows, PayPal. Like I came in, like my first thought was, oh, 45 looks like it could be a bit of a thing. And we've already traveled all the way down into support before getting to that 45. So I am thinking like that little SSR bounce play, where if we do not break this low right away at the open, that's 40, it's now 42.64 I have as the current low of the day, which obviously is a 52-week low. If we don't break this on that initial candle, and better yet, if we test it without closing underneath, I would think like a quick snap back into VWAP, and then bingo, bango, bongo, like just take one shot at it for a bit of an SSR play because it is down at that historic level. And for a higher time frame, I do think if this ends up being the worst and we hold this 42 for a week or so after earnings, there could be a relief rally in here. Just because it's at such a historic level. But that's probably the only reason, because it's at that kind of a level. And they're looking to make some changes. But I'm not trying to invest in the stock. I think you can just try to trade for that bounce. But I'll need to see the bottoming tail candle, or this is going to be a hard pass for me. Too far from that 45 now to look initially short.
Yeah, I mean, $44. I think you could still, put, for me, anyways, just different theory. I think you can push the short through this low there. I mean, down 17%. I think people will dump their shares off the open, so I would look to go short here, 42.50 or so break on PayPal, whatever the pre-market bottom is when this number comes out, because you're also at 9:30, because you're also waiting for that number on the imbalance locator, and that could be a nasty sell as well. So I have no idea where it's going to actually be once this market opens up. But I would say when it's this bad, it's going to get worse. So right there, 42, 42.50, that's what it is right now. So I would play the short here in PayPal, breaking through those levels, and then you could use, VWAP. Well, we'll see where that is once we open up again. Obviously we always use the 200 period moving average as well, which is all the way up here at 47. And then, we've really haven't broken this 50 period moving average. So I know it's kind of sleeping right now, but at 925, when those imbalances come through, PayPal should, we'll just see what it is. If it's a bid, it'll rip up, and then we short it even higher. And then if it's a sell, then I think you can push it through this 42.50 area. So I always think, we've been sitting at this desk too long to see, a name that's gotten beat up, new CEO, horrible earnings, traders stuck in this, not for long, man. I think they exit their positions. So look for some pretty big candles to the downside here on PayPal off the open. So, trading's not easy for a reason, so we'll have to wait to see what winds up happening with PayPal here, breaking through 42.50 south side.
All right, let's go on to rare earths. 12 billion. What's it called? Project Vault. The Trump administration giving a little bit more details on potentially what they could fund this industry, but also the exploration, I think, of it, more than the actual manufacturing of it, because we're still not there yet, I don't think, as far as what needs to be discovered. But all of these this morning catching a bid on this. I mean, some of these moves, not huge. MP, TMC, that's USAR, up a little bit, but it could be better.
This is a good first step. You got to assume ahead of the President Trump meeting in April, still unconfirmed, but widely speculated that's when they're going to be meeting. And I'll tell you why. Simple as this. China controls 60% of the global mining. And 90% of magnet refining. So to say, they really have the market cornered is a bit of an understatement, and that will obviously play well with President Trump's negotiating position when he meets with President Xi. So Project Vault is what it's called, Brendo, as you mentioned, new strategic critical minerals reserve aimed at supporting not just defense, but U.S. private industry. It kind of mirrors the petroleum reserve concept, which is designed to prevent supply shocks. President Trump framed it as a move as a response to past market disruptions, and here's how it's going to get funded. It's expected to combine $2 billion in pooled private capital with $10 billion loan from the U.S. Export-Import Bank. The structure signals, government-backed financing without full monetization, and the scale, according to Analyst, is supportive enough to build up inventory, long-term contracts, and potential domestic investment. But the real kicker is, though, it doesn't really address the main concept here, which is downstream magnet manufacturing. That's the major strategic gap right now, according to Analysts.
And we'll see if some of these can get going. I mean, it's the type of play where if one goes, potentially all of them could get going. But might need another headline here, guys. We're higher, but only just for most of these.
Yeah, I'll say so. Like yesterday, look, we had basically this headline yesterday in the morning without it actually being signed. And that same catalyst, CRML was a good breakout long off the open, but it went right into Friday's high and then completely reversed for the rest of the day. So that was the only long, and then it was just downward trending, which it had been doing for the last few sessions to begin with. So if it's not breaking out above 15, I don't think there's not much here. It's already even given back off the 14 level. On the other hand, USAR is a little bit better. Like if I got to look at one of them, USAR, at least this gives you a base off this 22 level, but it also needs to break about 25.5. So they'll both be on the radar. Like yesterday, I was only looking for the 15 break on CRML. Like I was like, that's the one. If it takes up that level, we'll go long. But at least USAR, if one of the two of them can get through these resistance points, I think you've got a chance for like a little mini squeeze and a good rally. But the absolute opposite happened. You got a quick trade from 9:30 till about 9:45 on the long side, and that was more or less it. So if that happens again, you're probably going to want to pay for shorts. I just rather wait for the breakout, and if it doesn't happen today, fine. It's just like that CCL. Like CCL doesn't want to break out its quintuple or sextuple top on the daily chart today, then we wait for it tomorrow, that kind of a thing.
I mean, all these stocks are looking pretty similar here. I mean, you're getting another 6.5% here on CRML. I mean, you're trying to hold the 50-period moving average. It's really held the 200 quite nice. I just don't, there's the Greenland, and there's all this, 2 weeks ago or last week, all we were talking about was these rare earth metals, and we were talking about Greenland and taking them over, and now it's kind of like off on this sort of sidebar there, but I think it's going to get ramped up again, some of that talk. So I do like CRML. We saw a huge move and then a pullback, so we know this one has the capabilities. And I always thought that even last week, I think it was around 550, did not pull the trigger on this, but LAC had that breakout there. Come on, let's go, keep going right into here. Yeah, so it was 550. This was 2 or 3 weeks ago. And we had that breakout up to 7, and now it's falling back in. So maybe LAC, Lithium America, is also, nearing a spot where if this starts to get hot again, boom. This is a good opportunity one more time to use the 200-period moving average as some kind of support. So, yeah, I think the rare earth and some of these plays continue to be pretty hot. You just need it to sort of catch that heat again. They're still hot, but they're not smoking. You know what I mean? So up 5% is a good little look there. It's only done 500,000 shares. I think LAC can get going. But I would rather wait for it to break this 550, 560 area before we punch that long. And then that's our ticket to get back up to 7. And then maybe you get out. And you don't have to be in these things for a long time, but play with some house money. Because if you take 550 long and get out at 7, all of a sudden a 450 break is you're flat, if not still up a little bit. So let's see if that can work itself out. 550 long on LAC. I kind of like that trade.
To Nvidia, we are back to the upside a little bit here, back above 186 this morning. Sam Altman comes out almost immediately. We talked about this if you're with us after 4 p.m. Yesterday. This rumor comes through suggesting that Sam Altman was not convinced that Nvidia chips were the best option for OpenAI and was quote unquote seeking alternatives, to which Sam Altman immediately goes on X and says, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not true at all.
He kiboshed that pretty quickly.
Yeah, but we did see a big move down in Nvidia shares into the close yesterday. There wasn't much follow through. We are still lower theoretically from where we traded yesterday, but I mean, it's one of those things where it's, you know, there's one rumor one day, another rumor another day, and Jensen's not really convinced, and now Sam Altman doesn't like it.
Oh boy.
What's going on here?
Right, it's a little, Nvidia doesn't like OpenAI, now OpenAI doesn't like Nvidia, as you said. Every day is a new story, but there's a technical reason why this rumor is even floating around, and it has to do with inference. So essentially, chips that use external RAM are slower than chips that use SRAM. NVIDIA's and AMD's chips all use external RAM, which isn't good for inference. It's fantastic for training, but not so great for inference. So according to the rumors, Altman is looking at people, or companies, I should say, like Cerebras and Grok, not GROK, GROQ, which they have a $20 billion deal in, or for to basically license their technology. They use internal RAM, and they're better for things like inference. Also, Google's TPUs uses internal RAM. So that's kind of where this idea is coming to a head here, that inference is the next phase of AI. It's going to be less on training these huge models on infinite information, or, you know, trying to get synthetic data now in some of these models. That's this whole argument here. But Wedbush, they view this more as a validation rather than a warning, arguing that NVIDIA, you know, with that licensing agreement with Grok, is just it's going to be a matter of time until they have really good inference chips.
Yeah, I was going to say that. That was the one that NVIDIA just invested a ton of money in as well. The last tweet that came from him, which was 15 hours ago, we love working with NVIDIA, and they make the best AI chips in the world, period. We hope to be a gigantic customer for a very long time. I don't think you can put it
pretty simple
any more clear. Yeah. So yeah, all good, guys, for NVIDIA?
Well, whether it's true or not that it's all good based on this story, which, I don't know, it was like a bit of an oddity last night, and we were doing the aftermarket show, and now it just seems like, okay, but was NVIDIA, the stock, doing much before this? And the answer was no, right? Like, look at all of the other chip names more or less yesterday relative to NVIDIA. NVIDIA it wasn't a bad day. Like, after dipping at the open, it was going to the upside like everything else. And then if this move can be attributed to people knowing that Sam was going to say what he said, or that was going to come out later, let's just make that assumption. It's not like you were strong relative to the memory chip names. So you weren't strong relative to AMD yesterday. You weren't strong relative to Intel yesterday, SMCI. Like, you just got on the entire list, and they were all doing much better than NVIDIA. For whatever reason, it's just accumulating in this range. And while that's been the case, this thing gets up to 190s, and you're just looking for a short because it cannot seem to break through yet. Is that going to last forever? No, of course not. But for now, that's kind of the environment we're in, and we're sitting in a chop zone for NVIDIA, which kind of behooves you to wait for it to get to key prices. Yesterday, it would have seemed like that would be higher. Probably would have said the same thing about 190, 293, being patient for it. But now you can start looking for that mean revert at 190 on NVIDIA. I think the stock's just fine. It's just that going back to regularly scheduled business has been NVIDIA being weaker than the rest of the other chips. For the time being.
Yeah, I said that yesterday on the show when that news dropped. I was like, with the Sam Altman guys just having an episode, because like there's no way. I thought it was in reaction to xAI potentially merging with SpaceX, and the fact that like if xAI merges with SpaceX, then they're never going to have a problem raising capital. While you can clearly see that Sam Altman and OpenAI, we had that big, Oracle's had to go for $40 to $50 billion more to try to build out for them. And we know that there could be some funding issues potentially with OpenAI. So I feel like he was just trying to get off his rocker a little bit there. And now he's obviously put the meds back on, and now he's feeling fine. So, you know, 265 here, that little break for AMD. They're going to report tonight, and this stock has been an absolute rocket ship. So watch out for AMD here today. It's going to pull back in right now as the market's trying to do a little bit of a dance here. But I still say, like, you know, just put the crown on top of NVIDIA. They're going to be the king, and we've said hold, don't trade at these levels. I just don't think it's been doing absolutely nothing for 6 months or more. right? This goes back to July, and Nvidia's done absolutely nothing. There's no dividend, there's nothing, or if there is, it's very small. No dividend associated with this name, so you've been sitting in dead money for a long time. Meanwhile, there's been so many names that have just been ripping or tanking, but at the end of the day, Nvidia is still holding its 50-period moving. Now my thing is still holding its 50-period moving average and well away from its lows of 170 now. So I like the stock. I think you just sit in it and you just wait for the next big thing to go boom, right? I mean, there's going to be robotics. We've talked about robotics this year. We've talked about everything that's involved with inferencing and whatnot. I think Nvidia is going to be the king and still is, and Sam Altman kind of confirms that with his talk here in the AM. So yeah, go Nvidia, go today. There.
All right, one more to go here. Guess what? AMD coming up after the close tonight. I was just looking at Tesla. I just heard it was moving, but nothing really tremendous happening here. Right at 420 for Tesla to 421. It's above, but anyway. Yeah, AMD coming up tonight. Another benchmark, another look at the demand side of things. And
the price has been accelerating into the earnings print. Let's talk about what analysts are expecting. They're looking for $9.67 billion in revenue with adjusted EPS of $1.32. That would be up from the 9.42 and the 1.23 expected by analysts. But expectations by analysts has been drifting higher and higher into the print as a result, obviously, of newer stories and data coming in. HSBC kind of reviewing this one today. They reiterated their buy rating. They boosted the price target from 300 to 335, and specifically, they're pointing at accelerating agentic AI demand. They also see AMD as the primary beneficiary of the AI-driven server CPU growth, not GPUs like we've been talking about, CPU growth here, which they say is not fully priced in by the market. They also say that Intel's recently acknowledged supply constraints, and they argue AMD is better positioned to deliver because they rely on external foundries, whereas we know Intel now using their internal foundries, which is not fully yet built up. They expect AMD to issue Q1 guidance above consensus, and they're saying it's going to be driven by improved visibility in data center and server demand. A favorable outlook here could reinforce, but a miss on guidance, given how much this one's run up, could really push this one down. About 4:15, Adira is telling me we'll get AMD tonight. Make sure you're with us for that. AMD, guys, and Intel, it's worth noting, both with a pretty good start to 2026 versus Nvidia. Just kind of chopping around sideways, guys.
Yes, sir. And 925 is hit. So just quickly before we go into AMD and a few other names, nothing crazy on the imbalances. You'll have BBAI in here as just under 500,000 shares to the buy side. Intel was 300,000, now 290 to the sell side. That's more or less it. LAC, that's pretty cheap and only 270,000. So very light on the locator. Going into this print, tonight for AMD, like you're priced pretty well here, like to have it get back into the 260. I would think going into earnings, it would be tough to break those types of highs. So it's like, I get it, we're dealing a little bit in the middle here. And I actually like Intel for a trade. Ooh, that's already starting to fade to 51. I do like Intel for a trade, but if you get up to, call it like the 58 to 60 range, if you're even testing those tops, I'd be a little skeptical that before the earnings, you're going to get a break away from that kind of resistance. I think some people are going to ring the register if you were able to get there. But one name that has already printed its earnings is going to be Intel, and it's filled the gap. Well, it's filled a decent portion of the gap to be chilling at this $51 range. Yesterday, we were looking at that for the fade in the afternoon. So obviously, anytime you're breaking into a new range, I like a pullback into the prior high, which is about 49.8. They probably will move a little bit on sympathy to AMD, but we don't have to worry about that till after the market. So I want to just go for structure here. The 51 fade has already happened. So looking at this 49.8 for a dip and rip. And then just one more before we go. We haven't really talked too much about Bitcoin or silver, but yesterday, IBIT couldn't break the 45 zone. I didn't trade the 45, traded prices that were not 45. Today, I'm waiting for the fade at 45, aforementioned.
All right, so just real quick here. I'm trying to be specific with what I'm looking at. Although yesterday we had Tesla was a banger, I didn't even have it on here. So we'll always look at Tesla, but Apple long 268, SoFi long. SoFi just broke through 23 bucks, so I'm not sure we'll get that long. But we did say, possibly, actually, I don't know if I had it in my note or not, or we just talked about it, but possible break there of the pre-market high. We like that for SoFi. That's happening right now as well. And then we went over some silver early, but we didn't cover too much of it, but it's moving around up 9% right there. So we'll look for a 78 long. That's coming in here as well, the 200 period and some of those pre-market lows. And then Intel has been on one this morning. I haven't even looked at this in about a half hour. So 50-50 long. It looks like it's come back in off that level as well. So some of these names are starting to fall in. So these are just some basic ideas that we look to make early. So we'll see if those can all hold, right? I'm also looking actually for a break here down of the TQQs. If we can break sort of below yesterday's closing price, and then maybe the market gives some of this back up. So watch out for TQQs. And we do have right now, there it is, these imbalance locators now out. Big Bear AI, I mean, again, got to wait. Some of these names just continue to get hit. Joby, there's a lot of small cap names on here right now to start the day. So I don't really see anything major on here. And we have New York and Nasdaq. The only Nasdaq name is AVX. Like normally you're getting something on here. There's Intel with a small sell.
Quiet.
So Intel with a small sell right here. So that would be something.
Even
so
that's
we'll wait.
really small for that itself.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's absolutely no interest right here off the jump. So, all right, so scratch that Intel long at 50-50. Man, that really came in there. We were trying to protect some VWAP, and now down 2.6% or so. And it looks like we'll probably, and again, I'm not sitting here bidding 268, but there goes Apple. Just what a bounce off at 268. We wrote that down at 8 o'clock, and it looks like that's going to be a good level as well. So about a half hour away now. We'll see if Apple falls back in, gives us that trade. We'll see if SoFi falls back in, and Tesla just went to the downside there, 24s pretty nicely there. So that just dropped about $2 as well. So this is the stuff that happens off the open. So be ready and be careful. Good luck to all.
Yeah, good luck to everybody as we're about to ring the bell in 10 seconds. On this Tuesday, it's already into earnings season this morning. PayPal was a big loser, Palantir the big winner, and this market is now officially open.
Yeah.
That's a little bit. Oh, Palantir almost immediately. Oh, yeah, maybe not. Almost immediately, I was going to say making a run. It tried to, I saw it try to run 165 and instantly to the downside. There's not going to be a pop through the pre-market high for a fade. That just instantly shed $3 on PLTR.
Yeah.
Look, in Intel, oh my goodness. That didn't even wait. Like, look at this. It doesn't even get to the prior high. The market opens up and it just jumps the dollar instantly. Like, it didn't even take neither one of those two stocks even took a heartbeat. It was just initial dump on Palantir, initial break on Intel. All right, if it's not going to get to the prior low, this might turn into just find VWAP because I'm looking for the long, but that is what it is. Intel now 5% to the upside. My guess is AMD. If we're looking at, okay, maybe not. AMD slightly to the upside. Looks like it's just an Intel story.
Yeah, I guess that 50-50 on Intel was good after all. Yeah, wait to see if that can pop back into that 50-50 level one more time, and we'll see if we can hit that level. But we're going to wait. I still think the Nasdaq was interesting there because it almost broke. I almost got short actually on that. I think I'm going to try. Short if we can break 55.40 here on the TQQs and just see what happens. And if we can get a little bit lower into this area, 55 and change, and then we'll see what we can do with that trade. But as I'd said before, like Palantir probably makes a move down, and there it goes. So, I said yesterday it was like a $3 move on no earnings. So, the fact that we're moving $3 here on, there we go. We are now short into the TQQ. So first position is now on there. So let's wait to see what winds up happening. I was going to pretty much give it to some kind of a level here, and that was going to be on the 1 minute chart. So if we get 55.70, we're trying to look at the 25 period moving average. So here we go. Nice downside play initially now on this. So we'll see if we can get out of 10%. If it does make that move, it just went into 30s there. So we did actually, well, we're short at 37. That's not a great short, but we almost made 10 cents. We'll sit there for 10 cents and see if we can get it. And then that's only on 10%. And we'll use this 25 period moving average at 55.70 as our out. Okay, so 55.70, and we don't have to average into it. We've got this trade. Let's see if it works. That's going to be our out, 55.71, and we'll see if we can punch out of that one if it doesn't work. So short initially here on the Nasdaq. Let's see if it continues to bleed down there. Nasdaq potentially looking at a red open. We'll see where we go. And then SoFi, of course, I've been looking at that one. It does break higher. We're still going to wait. That 200 period is right here at 2270. I wrote down 2250. Let's see if that will work out. But that's what we're doing right now, just waiting and being patient. And we've got one trade on, and we just bounced again off of our levels there. I think it went to 27 and didn't fill me. So here we come, 30. Need a little bit of a low move here. We'll get out of 10%, and then we'll see what we can do with this trade. Maybe 55.10s or so next.
Yeah, well, if Palantir is any sign, then it's going to be heading back into the downside. Not heading to the downside. CCL just broke out. No 33 break yet, but it seems like it wants to get at least close to it. I want to try to play off of the volume-weighted average price to join this before we get to that quintuple or sextuple top on the daily chart. So once again, the market's weak, but overall strength in some of the travel names that are not Disney. I stress the not Disney side of it is I think we just got a reload, I'm hoping, of coffee.
Yes, well, it's
Is that what it is?
espresso. It's espresso.
Oh, it's the espresso.
I asked for the espresso.
Yeah, the espresso after the open is the
Espresso
way to
after the
go.
open. All right, we covered a little bit more there on the TQQs right here at 55.20, so we do get a little bit of a cover there. As here we go, man. That's it. Daily goal met. I know we should extend our daily goal, but it is now met there on this TQQ trade. I'm waiting for another 10%, and then we can hold off on that. 55.11s is where I'm bidding right now, and there it is. Yes, sir. Wow. What a trade, Mr. Roberts. That was a good one right there on the TQQs as we nail that. We talked about it early. There it goes, man. Big trade alert there on the Nasdaq to start the day as we go back to the futures with that one. So that was a good one. Thank you so much, Mike P. DeRider, for your nice comments there in the chat. We're trying to keep it going, trying to keep the energy high and the trade's good. And there goes the TQQs. Nice move, man. We couldn't be happier with this play here early. And there goes the Nasdaq. I said we could possibly see a red Nasdaq open. So now that it's just turned red, potentially we get a little bit of a bounce back. Let's put another bid. There it goes. So we got some outs at that low at 55.10, but obviously not enough. Let's see what winds up happening now. And we'll just adjust our stop, right? I mean, it was 55.70. We don't have to adjust it yet. It's 55.60 now. So we'll see what winds up happening there. But there it is. Thank you so much. It creates space there as well. I hope this is a good thing. You think this is a good comment, Neil? What do you think on there?
Sean is a
You think that's a good?
Demon trade.
Yeah. You think that's good?
I'd hope so.
Yeah, me too. I think that's good.
A demon?
K-pop demon hunter? Is that what I'm doing?
Oh,
Hunting out some trades over there? I like it. I like it.
All right, I'm into my first one. It's going to be CCL on the way back into the upside. If we do see, all right, I have to go to Intel for a quick little second. Just very quickly, Intel just ran that 51 level. So if we're not going to see prior high for the long, the other play was the 51 fade. So we are getting a topping tail. Fail of the high break is confirmed if we close underneath 51. That's obviously going to be an if. But CCL on the way to, in theory, that $33 level, holding on to view up. It just bounced off 32.5. So as long as it can hold the volume weighted average price, which is just under 40, want to look long into 33. IBIT is starting to come back up, which I would like to fade if we can. So first look, I'll do it again. I'll look for the first fade at the pre-market highs and then wait for the 45 if and when we're able to get there. Palantir is now long gone to the downside, by the way. Like it's, now you're just sort of waiting for some kind of a mean revert. Like it didn't really press the highs before jumping in. As I said, it just instantaneously lost a bit. And we haven't looked at silver for you guys that much this morning, not doing anything. Off the open, it basically didn't move. We're still pulling back a little bit on SLV, but yeah, no action yet. I wouldn't suspect we're going to sit here and watch silver do nothing for the entirety of the open. I just want to look for a big mean revert on the 15 minutes, so I likely don't trade this or ZSL until we get to closer to 10 o'clock.
We wrote down that we had Apple potentially at 268. It's coming in right now pretty aggressively. It'd be kind of crazy to go long Apple and short the futures, but that's worked out before. We said that Apple's kind of on a different level right now than many of these.
It was all
tech
last
names.
yesterday.
So there it goes. We'll wait to see what happens with 268 right now for Apple. But we are like spinning it right here, man. You want to talk about chicken dinner winner? We'll see if we can get some 05s now. Yes, that was an absolutely fantastic move for the TQs as we come in right into 55, man. I mean, this was a trade that we had sort of talked about early. If it does break that level, I was feeling a little negative coming in on the day, obviously, as this is my first trade, is the short there on the futures. And it's a kind of a good thing here because we still have 75% of this trade as it's breaking yesterday's low right now. So a good one here to start the day on the TQQs. So yeah, we're going to get out some more as it's bouncing around. I mean, if we test 55, which we're doing right now, and hold, then yeah, it's going to look silly getting some of this out right now. But I'm going to take out one more piece here if I can at 06, and there it goes. So right now we have officially out of 40% of this trade. It's an absolute banger there for me. Now let's wait to see where we can go. Yesterday we had Target also blasting to the high side, and it's taking off there today again as well. Look at Target go, man. This has been a good trade for the longer term portfolio, but thinking about getting some out because it looks like we are finally getting right back to, we've already get some out here already once, but looks like we're getting right back to that level. So do we get another piece or do we wait now for 130 as there goes, wow, okay. We have a banger on right now, man. There goes TQQs, just keeps on sending it lower. We're going to bid some 92s here, see if we can get that. Well, we might have just missed it. Okay, let's bid some 98s. All right, we take those and some 92s, but a nice little downside push there on the futures. So yeah, let's go MF Dane Generous there. We've only seen you about a million times in the chat. Thank you.
It's dangerous.
It is dangerous right there. So thank you so much there. As I can't find, there it is. Sean Katina, there it is. Let's go. So thank you so much for your nice talk on that one. Intel 5050. Oh, that's the price we like on Intel. But TQ's making a downside move. And thank you, Dane Juras, as we appreciate all the nice and encouraging talks, right? This is not an easy thing to do. And we appreciate all the love and the support as the Nasdaq is falling over itself here.
Yeah, the market continues to fall. By the way, Palantir now 666%. To the upside, down at 158 if you're tracking that name. So we got Intel. The second we closed under, I said if it closed under 51 in the 3-minute, it did. Short off of VWAP. It happens to be 50-50. If it breaks VWAP, I'm out. Looking for the next out at the low of the day, which is $49.99, I believe. So I'll just stick in front of the $50 level and see if we can't pick up a bid there. CCL still holding for it. All right. It did just run the top again. One thing to keep in mind with CCL, if you're just tuning in, this is like the 6th time it's trying to break out this top. So if we can't get there, we've got to make sure we're taking shares out in front of any kind of a false break. If we take out 32.90 and don't break 33, then this would be a jump out, wait for the volume weighted average price, and then work back into it. But so far, so good. Until short, CCL to the long side. Maybe Disney's catching a bit off of this. I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean, I doubt it. No, Disney is most certainly not catching a bid. Along with CCL and the, yeah, it's not looking good for Disney. Disney, you're making some changes, but apparently the market's not liking it enough there. Just a repeat of yesterday's action. So bouncing off the 10s and 15s more than we are the 50 level. I'm going to take another leg out here. If we're not breaking the low as the market's breaking the low, then I want to make sure that I get most of it out in front and then look for the next opportunity to jump back into the trade. Silver headed on the way to the upside as the market gets weak, which makes sense. I think you want to see silver do that. Like you want to see silver bouncing when the market's doing this.
All right, so there it is. We just lost position board again, Brendo, and everybody, if you guys are tracking that. It was just off, and now it's back on. So definitely go take a look at that one. New position alert right now. I mean, obviously the market is just absolutely bleeding, and we've almost hit now, well, we're now at 2 times the daily goal, and but we have a new position with SoFi. This may not work, man. This is at 22.50 right now. I'm going to give it a little bit of sort of air past that level, but not much, man. So there it goes. Well, it just bought it back up there. I'm long here at 60s. If it breaks through 40s, we're going to get out of this play because don't want, and whatever, man. I took 20% on SoFi of what we did right here on the TQQs, right? And so right now we are absolutely on fire with this TQQ trade. So let's just be careful with what's happening now. Nice move back down into the downside on this trade. No real bids anymore. Now I have only 40% left. But again, like from going from up 0.5 or whatever it was to downside. Just had a feeling that the Nasdaq was going to try to turn there today. I mean, that was literally the first trade was that break of yesterday's closing price of 55.40. I mean, yesterday's closing price is right around here, but this was just the Palantir, the Nvidia, all these bumps up. So just kind of looked at this level, thought it was going to be a downside take, and it looks like that is exactly, oh boy, what it is right now. I did not TraderXAI. Don't tell me this again. Like, are we that much on fire right now? I did not take this trade at 78. I haven't looked at silver. But when you put this trade that I have on the TQs, I just have to tell you guys, like, that was, it's a very, very big one. But this one right here at 78, yeah, man, thank you for pointing that out. That's exactly what we had written down on the resource here, the note of stickiness. So there it goes, man. It was 78 long, just like we wrote down 2250 long for SoFi. That's exactly the price it just came into there, 22.50. So, so far so good. Let's see if it wants to work itself out. But great call. Thank you for bringing that up there on silver. Make sure you go find it at TraderTV Sean on Instagram and on X.
Yes, sir. And
Wow.
I just took my out in CCL pretty much exactly to the level of
Holy
83
shit.
or 33, but we just backed off. So the second we get that fail at 33,
Something's happening in the market.
we jump right out of it. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Intel. It's right back at that low of the day. And Palantir just lost the bid in a big way.
Holy.
Palantir heading down. Oh, God, Palantir.
Yeah, Palantir in the multiple.
Oh, yeah. Palantir just dropped $1.50 in almost like a single wick. It was a green candle here and then tried to bounce. No mas, not happening. For myself, I know you like 50-50, ends up being a good short trade, but if we don't break this low soon, my target's 49.8, prior day high. It's going to be 49.8 where I want to be able to grab it. And AMD, everybody, yuck, yuck, and absolutely more yuck. Oh, there was Bitcoin as well. I still have my orders out, but wasn't able to catch this one. It didn't get up to 45. We're just headed straight down. 77K, 7777 on Bitcoin just a couple of seconds ago. I think we are headed for a retest of that 75 at some point. Today seems as likely as any other day. And even ETH down under 2,300. Pretty much everything it is not the metals is dropping. Well, CCL strong.
Guys, I woke up today and chose violence. Sorry about that. Monster move, just $1 right there on the TQs, man. I mean, all of a sudden we just escalated there, and it was just like something just dropped. I don't know what that was, but there's the breakout to the downside, like, oh boy. And this was a really, like, honestly, I was just like, forget this, man. I wanted that trade, and I could not believe this move down right there on the futures. It's 9:44 already. Our day now is pretty much done. So we'll give props up to anybody that has this short. And if you have the long here as well on SoFi, I mean, that's kind of printing. I'm going to put an offer here at 70. We'll take a little bit out there. So far, man, the silver long at 78, bang, right? SoFi long at 22.50, bang. Futures, we got that, right? Neil's got that Intel trade. Here we go. What a move right now as well on SoFi. That was a good one. We bought some more in the long-term account at 22.50 today as well. We'll see if that winds up holding. That's going to be a little bit of a different trade, obviously, than right now. We're out of 40% as it gets right back up into the 200 period moving average. That's a 2-for-2 day right now, and we're at 3 times now the daily goal, but that's because of this absolute collapse right there in the TQQs. So, yeah, we're starting to go to the downside right now, and let's just wait to see. We have economic numbers coming out as well for you guys today.
It's very
Jolt
likely
is
not going to
tentative.
be released because of the shutdown. So
okay.
the partial government shutdown, like every site that I'm seeing that tracks it has actually removed it.
Okay, so we had it written down here on the profile today, just off of our release there that we put out in the morning time, that we did have some numbers coming up,
It's
but there it is right
scheduled,
there,
it's just-
tentative.
Yeah, I wrote tentative for that reason.
Yep, yeah, I have it right here, so I just wanted to show everybody that we do have that, and Fed's Barkin also speaking right now, so that's good. Like, if there is no number, that's fine for me. I mean, the market is absolutely cracking right there. Monster trade here. This is about like 200 or so handles on the Nasdaq, but let's see where it goes to the downside. Good outs on SoFi. SoFi so good though here today, and we knew that Palantir had a whoops-a-daisy moment about it. And there it goes, right? I mean, we literally called that off the open, that this was probably going to be a problem, and getting some out at that 161 break. So hopefully I did that on my own account as well. That order was in there. We talked about it. If we break that 161, then we'll flatten out a little bit there. So we did that on Palantir, and just trying to get out more of this futures play, right? I mean, I still like the downside play, but I'm not going to even though I only have 25% left, holding it all the way back to 55.20 seems a little bit sketch. So I'll put a little bit out right now at 62s. We get that fill, obviously, and now we'll wait to see where we go from here. But I'm going to adjust the stop, and there we go. So a stop that was at 1.30 cents gave us about $1.20. So that's a good trade there, and we'll cancel it. And now we'll put our stop at this 25-period moving average of 55.15. So it looks like it's coming back up now as well. So we'll see if that prints, and we'll stop out of that. But we still have SoFi long, which has been awesome, and that's 22.60s right now. So we should have waited for our 22.50, but I wasn't sure it was going to get there. It gets there within 1 penny and then blasts higher. So SoFi, so good. And silver, and then we'll throw back to Neil. That was a good call at 78, but obviously we're distracted with the futures, and we'll just wait to see where we go from there. So you had the Intel and CCL, right?
Yeah, CCL just came back to the 33. I want to get to, there was a question, someone asked what's going on with PayPal. PayPal had earnings this morning. They missed on the top and bottom lines, and their guide was poor. So they're making some changes as well in the C-suite. But it was all bad for PayPal is the short end of the story. Maybe one of the worst earnings reports I've seen in quite some time that we've covered. But Intel did bounce off the prior day high, so I jumped out. I'll wait till it gets to VWAP to look for another trade, which right now is about that $50.50 range, at least for now. And I'll think the same thing, but in the other direction for Carnival. It initially dipped at that 33. Now it's making the break through 33 even. If it can close over 33 on the 15-minute chart, then I like the long over 33. Otherwise, still going to wait for the next pullback into a prior day high and the volume weighted average price. Now, the only thing that we didn't get that I tried this morning was IBIT. And I'm still not going to get those fills there at 40.40 and 40.50. That's coming into VWAP. So I might have to adjust the target here and start shorting off of the volume weighted average price instead of that pre-market high. So those are the three that I'm watching for now. I don't really like SLV until it sets up some kind
Oh my God, no.
But it looks like it could. I mean, it broke the downward trend. So in theory, like that actually ends up being a long trend. But because I was sort of biased to the downside, kind of been waiting for it to break an uptrend instead of a downtrend.
Okay. Our number one trade idea today, obviously, I was saying like going short the futures and going long Apple wouldn't work out, but we wrote down 268 on Apple, and that was pretty much, damn, that was $2. So we could have had like $1 short on the TQs and $2 long there on Apple. Man, I just need to automate my own ideas. If I can do that, which I can probably just do that pretty easily there. Just take the trades that we write down. It is hard sometimes to manage all of the positions at once, and let alone know which ones are going to work and which ones aren't going to work, right? I mean, that's part of what we're trying to do here, right? And that's why you can always ask us, like, are we green or red on the day? We won't necessarily have to give you our P&Ls or anything, but, you know, green or red on the day works. We talked about that yesterday because everybody has different risk parameters, different share sizes and everything. So if you're green, it means your trades are working for you, right? And if you're red, then they're not. And that's kind of the way you have to look at it. But right here on Apple, 268, man, damn, that was a good one. So if we can come back into that level, so be it, and we'll see if we can get that one. But yeah, you're right. You can't win them all, and that is for sure. But that was just a missed opportunity because we had written it down as the number one idea here on the list. And I actually asked you guys, was there anything else that anybody else wanted to? Oh, here's a fake guy right here. You got to block some of these guys here on Twitter, but was there any ideas that anybody else sort of wanted to look at here? We had Texas Boy said AMD, SoFi, and Apple. That's a good look there. Investor says USAR, Intel, and Nebius. So another good kind of look on that one for you as well, my friend. But there goes SoFi. It's a good thing that we got a little bit of money in the account on SoFi there, and then it dropped down out. So there goes SoFi losing that bid. Again, I just heard in my ear that JOLTS is coming at 10, but yeah, it's tentative. If it does come out, that's great. We do have, obviously, a new low here coming on the, well, not obvious, but it looks like a new low here coming on the futures. So let's bid out a little bit at some of these levels as we take advantage of this push down. If we do get JOLTS and it's horrendous, then ciao, see you later. We'll see what winds up happening here with the futures, as the job market is one of the ones that's been talked about. So, all right, I'm going to, adjust the mic, get all figured out here, but it's a nice downside push now for for the TQQ, the banger of the day there, and a good trade on Intel. And there it is again. We just lost the position board one more time.
Yeah, I didn't even take a fill, so I'm not even sure what's going on there. No, we're breaking right back into the lows. I think the next thing I'm looking for is to jump in on IBIT, the next available pop. Whether that's volume weighted average price or a little bit lower remains to be seen. I just want to come back to Palantir for everybody that has not done anything but continue to fall. So it does not hold on to 161. We didn't really get a pop to fade into. If it fills the entirety of the gap, I suppose you could look for some kind of a long trade in there if you're inclined, but I would wait that one out. PayPal, actually I'll slap the fail because PayPal actually did do the false break of the low. Bottoming tail candle, didn't quite get to VWAP, but it did do a bottoming tail candle instantly and then popped a couple of dollars into the 44 level and is now right back in. So if you were looking for that right at 930, you did get the SSR bounce, but again, it has to be the first thing you're looking for. I was more paying attention to CCL and obviously Intel there, which is now back through VWAP. So I'm glad we didn't reload Intel yet. Intel's still sliding higher. Allow it to maybe retest that 51 level. If it shows me another fail, then it's worth the short. Otherwise, don't stand in front of a moving freight train. It's strong relative to the market. Rather look at this CCL for the dip buy, which, by the way, if you find relative strength or relative weakness, good place to be. For now, CCL, and I would imagine some of the other names in the travel space, doing very, very well. Let's try to buy this dip into VWAP and then move on to the next. And let us know what you guys are watching in the chat. Most of you doing a fantastic job. Put the symbols in. Just make sure you type $, like Vicky Lee in here, $ Palantir. And if you do that, then when I pull up the stock visualizer for everybody, then, hey, lo and behold, what's the #1 symbol? It's going to be Palantir, silver, PayPal, SoFi, USAR, which we haven't looked at, Nvidia, Fuse is still on here, Apple's going to make it, that NPT. RKT also in play, up 10% today, RKT. Hey, who knew? Must be news there.
So I just took another fill. Obviously, like I was saying, the position board not actively working right now. We do have a fix in. We're trying to get that going. So apologize for that. But we're into Intel right now. So there it goes. Okay, so we take another fill and it works. So we're into Intel right now. It looks like it's going to lose the bid. I wanted to try it at 50-30s. 50-50s. So that's where we're long right now. Well, we're long at 58s. But if this drops below right here, 30-40 basically, okay, here it comes. We're going to stop out of this one. And looks like the only, okay, so it looks like the only trade right now. Keep trying to find some longs here in this market, but it doesn't look like it wants to go. So we'll just maybe sit here and continue to watch sort of the net grow on this trade and try some of the ones that we liked. I'll go back to Intel, go back to SoFi at some point, but honestly, like the longs just have not been printing here today. So, you know, just kind of sitting in this position and waiting while we've really got a huge extension play here on the TQQQs. This might be the cleanest, best, you know, trade that I've made on this market yet, you know, to date. And I think we're just getting better and better at trading. So, you know, thank you guys for continuously watching us and supporting what we're doing here on the show, right? So probably the best TQQ trade, honestly, that I put on, because I didn't have to really fret about it. It never went against and just kept going through some of these key levels. It's 955, it's Adara.
Keep an eye on Netflix and Warner Brothers, guys, as we approach 10 a.m. That's right, we are expecting to have this Senate Judiciary Subcommittee meeting with regards to Warner Brothers and Netflix's plans to merge, or rather Netflix trying to acquire Warner Brothers. Present at the meeting will be co-CEO of Netflix, Ted Sarandos, as well as Chief Strategy Officer of Warner Brothers Discovery, Bruce Campbell. Again, that'll take place at 10 a.m. Eastern. You know me, I will be watching this live and giving you guys any commentary of any market-related or significant things that are said. Back to you.
Yes, I should say this is the only morning that I don't throw any orders out on WBD because of that meeting. But once they have the meeting, I suspect it might get interesting to trade. If it does, it's a big if. I'd go over to it at that point. Netflix doing what the market is doing right now. But finally, a potential trend break here. Silver's at a double top. I'm looking at ZSL. Here's a double top on SLV. It's trying to break the trend line. Obviously, ZSL, that would mean breaking the trend line and long if silver heads back in to the lows. So what I would do is if we break the trend line here, go long into these highs with a stop underneath the prior bar. Bitcoin just lost a bid again. Yikes, you gotta be kidding me, BTC. And yeah, Intel, I thought we'd press into 51 this time, but we didn't, so didn't want to chase this candle. Once it confirmed under VWAP, it basically dropped 1% very, very quickly. So there was no chance unless you wanted to chase that halfway down there. I wanted to see it hold under a little bit longer than that. And CCL refuses to dip into VWAP. This is the one long that has been going and the one that I'd like to be able to join. But if we're not going to go back into VWAP at 32.75, we come to the chart for a second. If we're not going to get into VWAP, then I might just take a shot off said 33 level. This has been trying to break out this for a while, 6 times, and hopefully the 6th time is going to be a charm. Looks like we haven't really closed above 33 on the 15. That was a condition I wanted, but in 2 minutes, that should be true, and we should have a close above 33 even on CCL. Not much looking strong except for this, so at least glad this was like the one long that had been clean, but we want to take our second shot at it at some point in here. Market bleed is still in there, and SNDK,
Market bleed.
what goes up must come down. And that is now down from the highs about $70, but still only 1%. But that's a nasty looking candle for SNDK. I'm not going to say the top is in for these, but it does feel like the top is in. That 700 feel like an obvious level. You have at least until Micron earnings, though.
Yeah, no, this is getting to be like just an absolutely crazy move for me in the futures. We keep going to the downside. So we are going to wait 2 more minutes until we potentially, wow. Oh boy. Thanks for the good talk there. And, I keep saying about being a risk manager and that's all that I really consider myself. I mean, we'll sit here. I mean, some consider themselves, look, hosting is fun, but whatever. I'm looking to, put on some good trades and show you guys how, and that's the whole point of what this show was when we first tried to start about it, was you're not always going to be right with all of your trades, but you can manage the risk. So right there, getting out of that intel on that break lower has really saved basically the whole day for me, right? As this one just comes crashing back in. And I think I'm going to think about going long intel very, very soon, but at these levels, and then let your winners ride. And now I only have now 15% left of this, but we had start to tap it out here. This is an absolute, this is now $1.70, but we actually went short here at 25,950. It's now at 25,650. This is 300 handles right now on the TQQ. So this is just keeps on going down. We appreciate you too, Loco man. Thank you so much for continued support. Over to Adair in case we get these numbers.
Yeah, it's a pretty big in case here. If you guys can see on this Trading Economics website, there's not even a time next to these, though there is kind of this spiral to suggest we could actually get these prints. Regardless, I'll go through it as if we are getting these numbers, because again, we could. Jolt's job opening, 7.0 million is the forecast, 7.2 million the consensus. Previous print here, 7.146 million. Jolt's job quits. Previous year was 3.161 million, forecast around 3.15 million, but I'm not seeing these numbers, so it does not seem like we got these Jolts prints today. I'm going to keep an eye here on X as I go through the rest of this happening now with you guys to see if there's anything popping up, but looks like we're not getting Jolts today. But in the meantime, the market just keeps getting Jolts to the downside. Nasdaq pretty weak here as we do await some high-profile earnings after the bell, specifically AMD, though SMCI could be a fun one for traders to watch. Unfortunately, a lot of this drop here does come as we get a lot of weakness in PLTR. Palantir, to be clear, still green on the day as far as I know, but giving up a lot of that gap to the upside on its earnings. And to be clear, this is a stellar report across the board. They did beat EPS and sales estimates for Q4, and they guided better than expected for Q1 2026 and fiscal year 2026. The same could not be said for PayPal. PYPL sharply to the downside. They missed EPS estimates, they missed sales estimates, and after a rough tenure under CEO Alex Christ announced that he's going to be replaced by HP CEO Enrique Lores. Now, it is worth noting, Enrique Lores has a pretty good relationship with President Trump. He's been at the White House at least a couple times in recent months, so maybe something to keep in mind here as a positive for PYPL under this new leadership. However, Enrique Lores isn't going to step in right away. That's going to begin at the start of March 2026. His tenure will take place. Again, we are expecting that Warner Brothers and Netflix hearing with the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on Antitrust. I will be listening to that and following it for you guys diligently if there is anything of note. Back to you.
Thank you, Darren. Obviously, keep us abreast of what's going on with that meeting with WBD, Netflix. We'll see what happens there. But it's still the overall bleed in the market. It's starting to unravel, at least turn silver here. I'm just going to show you SLV coming down a little bit because long in ZSL, which is an inverse ETF, inverse like leveraged ETF. So it's come back into view, playing it back into the high. So waiting for the reversion. There's your trend break. There's your entry. There's your out underneath prior bar. Looking for the play into 210. Once we hit 210, I want to be out of 2/3 of it and then just look for extension at that point. Don't really have a target as to how far it goes if we break out that prior high, and that works into Friday's afternoon low as well. So far, so good. Although I still haven't gotten back into CCL. It is now back at VWAP, but there has not been a bounce. Like, it broke trend and has not found a bid yet. Don't just want to sit there. Like, it's one thing to get to a line on a chart. It's another thing to set up an entry. You make that higher low and hold, then I like an entry. Right now, it's just dropping heavily. So I don't need to sit in front of a falling knife. Already 3 for 3, and no need to fight along. Because ZSL, it effectively is a short.
Yeah, good trading over there today. Yeah, look, maybe we should just I guess, you know what, like that was 55.40. This is now at 54.30. So yeah, I would be up more if I just got out of nothing and only waited for this 25 period moving average. But obviously this is a very, very dramatic move lower right here. So hard to predict said moves like that. But we are starting to piece out a little bit here as this continues to fall in. I'm going to take one more fill and then maybe just let it settle. But this is just a big, yeah, probably, Bob. But if I take the week off, then we got to pay Obi to sit here. So, you know, that costs us a little bit of money. So we're not going to do that. But yeah, TQQ's just making that move down. And yeah, we are now, honestly, I have about like 11% left of this trade. So it just keeps on going here as we go. So let's go to the downside here with this market and see if we can keep on climbing. It's too bad because I talked about potentially buying Intel down at some of these levels, and it's actually made a nice move off of those lows. So we'll see if Intel, maybe I'll buy a little bit of Intel down here and see if we can get some. What's up, Adara?
Yeah, just an update here. This Netflix meeting is actually going to be starting at 2:30 p.m., guys. I do apologize. Again, 2:30 p.m. is the start for the Netflix meeting. There's another Senate Judiciary Committee meeting happening right now. And so that, I guess, when that ends, this one will begin again. It's going to be 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Regardless, I'll still be covering it for you guys. Back to you.
Okay, good to know. I mean, obviously, if you happen to be trading, I don't think Netflix matters, but if you're trading WBD, then that time is going to matter a heck of a lot to you. This is the only day that I haven't put orders out on, like I said, on that stock. It's been really, really good lately, but that's been because you've been able to effectively just short the deal price, which is $27.75. I don't want to just sit there and get run over today, and it's not really moving, so I think you stay away from that. All right, silver is catching a bit of a bid, which on ZSL means it's starting to come back in here. Waited for it to get to VWAP, but then it started to break out and already making a bit of a lower high. The one thing I should respect is I'm going to get rid of my entry trend line because who cares about that now, is the fact that if you go back into the pre-market, we do have some lower highs going in there. So because I got lower highs, I'm going to put my stop to break even at this point, so it can't turn into a losing trade, but we didn't get that follow through breaking through the high that we wanted. And again, like, it's just a different style. Like, I like that kind of an entry where I know exactly what I'm looking for. I know exactly where the entry is and the exit, but I do move the stop up once we get to first resistance spot. And now I will go back to CCL and show you, this is another, like I was saying, you don't need to catch a falling knife just because I wanted to see it bounce off of VWAP, just because it was strong and did work before, doesn't mean you just blindly sit there at the volume weighted average price. I gotta let this one set me up for another long trade. It's about the only thing I believe in that is a true long, right? ZSL is effectively a silver short, but it's the only thing I like to the long side today is going to be CCL. So until it shows me some strength, I got to back off of this one and be patient.
Yes, we have a new trade alert over here. I'm back into Intel. We said we'd try this level. We're long here at 64. It's at 54. Breaking of 40. We're going to be out of Intel if it breaks right there. I mean, we tried to catch it there. Didn't work. I'm trying to catch it again right now. They have a deal with SoftBank announced today. It was flying, right? So I just thought, like, if the futures, it's kind of like a... It's not a hedge really because, you know, we don't have too much left. We're under 10% now. Wow, as we hit lows one more time right there on the TQs. Wow, what a thrill to hit this one there for everybody today. That was just so far so good there as we just made new lows now in the Nasdaq. Now down 1.2%. Where's the bottom? How about nowhere right now on the TQQs? Let's go over and have a look at Tesla and see what's... Man, I just wish we never traded Intel today. Oh, well. Just putting a little dent back in. I'll give up like maybe... I'll give back maybe 5% or so on that Intel trade. It's still fine if it does fall out of bed. Tesla also, man, bouncing off 420. That's been a key level before, so we could definitely have a quick look over there. Yeah, so this is Intel, long at 56, as we throw it back over to Neil.
This hour of the show brought to you by PDSB Biosciences, everybody. And look, that's PDSB on the Nasdaq, and they're transforming how the immune system targets and fights cancer. And the initial focus is on HPV-16 positive head and neck cancers. HPV-16 can cause head and neck cancer, and more people are facing these high-risk cancers than ever before. HPV-16 head and neck cancers are projected to become the most common type of head and neck cancer in the US in a few years. You can learn more at www.pdsbiotech.com. And again, the ticker is PDSB on said Nasdaq. PayPal is actually holding low. Good for them. Doesn't look like it wants to break any lower than that 42.5 just yet. Hasn't really challenged VWAP. 45 was kind of the level that I was looking for a fade, and it doesn't really seem like it wants to get there anytime soon. Earnings for PayPal, if you're just tuning in right now, earnings this morning for PayPal. Missed top bottom, guide lower as well. Mr. Westermeyer, you made 2.5K on the Q puts, but could have made 20. I do good selling too early, but the way I look at it is, it's a common refrain. I wish I could have done more in the trade. If you're making money consistently, then that's something you should be very concerned with, because at that point, you want to build on it. But if you're not, for some traders, if you're not at the point where you're making money consistently, don't worry about holding for longer yet. Because your goal is to just make money in the first place. And then once you do that, then worry about holding the trade for a little bit longer, because you want to try to double down on what works most, right? So if you're going station to station works, then just that's good for you. And maybe you're a higher percentage style trader where you're just going to win at a higher rate instead of trying to hold the entire day. Everybody can be different, but definitely makes a lot of sense there to always look for that.
Yeah, congratulations. I mean, that's why I hope you guys were able to make some money off all these trades, and do you, and a great job there. And yeah, there you go, man. Put that money in your pocket, and do the rest later. So, covering obviously some of this Intel trade. We're long at 52. I'm literally covering for flat there at 52. I got out of about 25% or so of this trade at 54s. So that was the flat trade on that. So we're going to have to wait to see. I mean, this market just keeps on bleeding. I still do have hopes that Intel can get a little higher than where we are now. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in this long. I'm going to offer mid-60s. But look, see, it just keeps on stopping here in the 50s. So a break of 40, which is about to happen, I'm out of this trading. You see how it keeps on doing that? And then I get nervous. So I'm actually going to offer again here at 49. Take that fill, and I'm going to cancel my 60 fill. Maybe this goes, maybe it doesn't, but I've now covered half for virtually flat on this. It just doesn't look like it wants to go here, Intel, and we could see a downside push in this name as well. So we'll leave it alone for now and have a quick. There it goes. Okay, it just broke. So we have to flush ourselves down the toilet there, as we haven't been able to make any money on Intel today. Like I said, wish we sort of had stayed away from Intel. Silver, I had that long at 78. That could be something that maybe comes back in again. I did want to have a quick little look at sort of the broader market here, just to get an idea of what we've been doing today. And so far, not the greatest look and other things, but tech has been bad. Other names have been aight, right? We have Caterpillar, LRCX, and AMAT to the downside there today, as some of these names just getting hit a little bit, as we've talked about some of those. But nice downside plays there on those names. Nvidia, Microsoft. Microsoft can't get out of its own way. That's down another 2.5% there today. Meta half. Oracle, wow, that just keeps on getting faded. Congratulations to Adara, awesome call there on Oracle, down another 3.25% there today. Micron falling out of bed. I mean, a lot of these names are now finally starting to get cracked. So, you know, be careful with any of your positions here as we continue to watch out what this market wants to do. And I'd say it wants to get a hell of a lot lower than where we are even right now. A lot of these names continue to bleed downside. Some of the banks, man, we say hallelujah that we've got some chicken dinner winners in the account with JP Morgan and things like that. But the banks have been also beat up for a minute and finally starting to catch a bid right now. And there goes JP Morgan, 315.40. Nice move there. That got sub 300 for a little bit there. And it's not like it's a huge move. It's a $300 name. But we like that one. And then look at this, man. The technology services, ciao to all of these ones today. What in the world is going on with IBM right now? Down 6. This is its biggest single day drop in 6 months for international business machines. CRM getting hit, man. We've talked about, what AI is doing to CRM right now. Not great. Customer relation management, CrowdStrike down. That's one of Joey Options plays there. Some of these names just keep paying W. Wow, this is a bad day for me to check my portfolio because I am diversified into many of these names and they're all getting crushed right now. The consumer non-durables are fine. It's kind of strange to see Tesla.
You look at like Walmart and like that.
Yeah, those are good ones. Yeah, Walmart's up, Target's up huge today as well. But just into here's the retail trade. Amazon getting hit, fine. Walmart, Costco up, Home Depot up, TJX up as well. There's Target up 2.5.
Procter's breaking out as
well.
Yeah,
Procter, we love some Procter.
It's like defensive names. Defense is the wrong word.
Ooh, bye-bye.
More like staple kind of names are keeping it up a little bit here. Procter & Gamble just crossed the 200 period moving average, by the way. Adara?
I was going to say, I don't know if we mentioned it yet, Walmart joined the 1 Trilly Club earlier today. I'm not sure if it's still in it, but Walmart did join the 1 Trilly Club.
Yeah, okay.
We did not say that, but why not? Walmart's been an absolute beast, but I think you're getting a little rotation as well away from some of the tech names, and maybe it's because of Palantir, right? Like Palantir could have signaled at least a bit of a temporary top. This thing that, Bitcoin hasn't been at a top. Actually, it's been months. I don't remember the exact month, but it's been months since we've been at a top. Unable to get 45. Missed it at the volume weighted average price, so picked it up when it failed the prior low. So just kind of like the standard, where can you join a trade? If you're not joining it at VWAP, once it tries to retest the prior day low, if I find dip into prior highs a good way for longs, then the pop to short it off of the prior day low is the other way to go. So it did it here, showed me that, took the short in here at 85 and playing it to the low of the day, at least for now. ZSL it's on the cusp. I could have reloaded it. I put the stop right in here to 95, and it did not break. So for now, we're still going to be in it. It could still go to the upside. I don't think it's worth a reload at this point. Silver's not even moving all that much the way I see it. Like, you're getting much crazier action elsewhere. So the bigger move might be later on in the day for SLV. So I want to take another bid on IBIT here. If it breaks the low, there's nothing really significant. We're at 77,000. The bigger levels are at like 74, 75. So at that point, I just put a trailing stop in on the trend line if we lose this bottom.
Wow, man. Intel now to $49. What a move that one has seen.
Apparently profit taking at 50 is like the way to go.
I profit took at 53.50, which was
Should
good.
have done it again.
There. So that was a really, really good trade. Getting out. I got out before earnings and didn't buy back in. So it's not like I got out there and then, bought back in at the lows. That would have been nice. Well, maybe we can do that if it does come back into $41 again. All right. So, look, trying to follow some of the things that I'd thought about before, we did like the situation that we had seen on Intel coming into some of our levels. Apple's not getting to 268, but I'm going to stick with sort of my guns here because we had tried Intel at 50-50, it didn't work. This was actually okay. The problem is that we bought that 60 fill there, and then once 50s didn't hold, we had to we sensed, the Spidey senses was good there. We were getting out for some flats, and then eventually it broke lower, but we still put an L on that name, which is not great. Obviously, I understand that, but we do have an L there on Intel. But all right, here we go. I'm taking another piece out here. We'll get some 41s on the TQs, well, of course, and then it falls back through. Maybe we are getting a little bit of a move back in now. I have about 5 to 6% left of this trade right here on Intel, and we'll just wait to see where it goes now. Sorry, on the TQs. Yeah, I'm always.
If you were to buy a soda with the winnings today, would you buy Pepsi or Coke?
Pepsi. I don't prefer Coke at all. I'm a Diet Pepsi guy 10 times out of 10.
I knew you were going to say that. No, I know you know. I know you like that. Yeah.
Pepsi, I saw was up today. Good question.
No, it was what? I saw the super chat, and I already knew you were going to say Pepsi because I know you're a Pepsi guy. Yeah. I don't like pop, so they don't call it rum and Pepsi is the way I look at it, so I only drink Coke.
And I don't like alcohol.
I don't drink either, so it is what it is. But Pepsi up 5%. Thank you for the super chat, the floppy disk there. Pepsi, another sort of rotation-style name, is doing well today after they beat. And they beat
Pepsi all day.
Oh, yeah, big beat on guidance, beat on the top and the bottom, but the guide's actually pretty strong for them. With a slight beat on EPS and okay beat on sales, but the guidance came in strong. 97 billion estimates for full year 2026, and they came with 97.7 and 99.56. It's usually good guidance if the entire range is above estimates. Like, forget about the midpoint. The whole range was above the estimate there for Pepsi. So strong breakout on the daily chart and looking absolutely fantastic for them. It's Pepsi today, Walmart today, Target, as you already mentioned. That's what's going to be strong as the market goes to the downside. I know Pepsi's not just about pop. I was just transitioning to the topic out of nowhere.
Pop. That's so funny. Soda. All right, so
Americans say soda.
Yeah, exactly. U.S. plans to license companies to pump Venezuelan oil. So that's a story there. That's coming through. Here it is right here. I'll throw it up on your screen. Trading and putting up news stories. Talking to you guys in the chat. Make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe, man. I mean, we're having a lot of fun today and putting on big. Yesterday was a big day, man. We're ahead of where we were yesterday already. It's 10:20 right now, and we've just really started to, level up the trading a little bit here. Yesterday we had just such a crazy day on Tesla and SLV, and that comes off of the single biggest trade ever in TraderTV.Live history. Yeah, on Friday with SLV, Randy. Thank you so much for the espresso, by the way. It really ignited this market move. But yeah, so silver today is not really doing anything right now, but we'll wait to see what's going on with it. But maybe this break of 80, 75, I don't know. It's kind of just cruising right now, looking to do. I know Neil's in ZSL, but just for myself, I was going to wait for this to come through again. 78 potentially does not. So we'll wait where that goes. So so far it sucks to be short and having that win. Like I wish yesterday. Remember yesterday we actually. Oh, and here's another thing. So yesterday on the TQQs, actually, I put this out. We had the same feeling. We were short right off the open on the TQs. We had written down on our sticky note 54 short. Okay, we had that trade, and then we got blown out of it, and we took a hit on that. I'm probably up today like 4 times maybe what the hit was yesterday, on that. So that's what I'm saying. Like stick to what you're doing. Have some confidence in your game, and you'll be okay. And yeah, I see you guys in the chat there about Intel. Look, man, I tried. It just it didn't work there, both were really nothing burger hits, but it's just a matter of still hits anyways, right? I mean, a loss is a loss, but yeah, there goes Intel finally starting to kick back upside. So good look on that in the chat there. Whoever was just tagged me out, Texas boy. What's up, Texas boy? That's a good one there. So yeah, good call on Intel. I hope you have that long. That is for sure off the bottom there for Intel. What's up, Adara?
I have sort of a headline here for Lennar. I'm seeing reports that apparently home builders, including Lennar, are proposing a Trump Homes program to tackle U.S. housing affordability. Now, we know this is something that U.S. President Trump has been very vocal about, especially as of late. So again, Lennar reportedly one of a couple home builders that is considering this Trump Homes plan. Apparently that would roughly involve 1 million homes if it comes to pass. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. In the meantime, TRX, Chun Ruxwang, this is the first of the small caps on watch today, and this is not new to us. It is a penny stock trading sub 20 cents, but it is one that I mentioned at least in the couple weeks a couple times. Roughly 8 million share float, announcing a strategic agreement with a global digital asset investor, which does include a 15,000 Bitcoin injection here into TIRX. Then we have GXAI, this one at intraday highs. This is another one we've discussed before. Gaxos AI with a Meg 7 related catalyst, announcing that Amazon Web Services, or AWS, is committed to fund its preliminary development of the Gaxos Labs AI-powered sales coaching platform. Last but not least, we've talked about it, we know it, we love it. It's FatPipe, FATN. This company here with a year-over-year increase in both sales and marginally in earnings per share for Q3 2026. So FATN, GXAI, and TIRX all on watch. All of these have a sub 10 million share float. Back to you.
Yes, thank you, Adara. And you know what, to the point, actually before that, did reload IBIT. It held that 44, the prior low, so reloaded it, but it's still holding some strength in here. So we're at a higher low when the market's at the low of the day. So I don't think there'll be a third time at this point, unless I can see it get back into the low of the day. The last reload did not get to the low of the day, but I'm still holding out for said low of the day. But FatPipe, that was exactly, and you guys saw the chart, it was downward trending for Adara. That's exactly what Luis was talking about for some of those small cap runners. If they don't hold that strength, more often than not, they are going to head back in. And so being willing to go short if you have the ability to certainly can be an advantage. ZSL, look, it bounced off that 95 where my stop was, so thankfully it didn't hit, but it's also stalling at VWAP. So the same thing is still happening. You've got this downtrend, which it will not break. At this point, if it breaks the trend line, there's no point for, to each your own. If it breaks this trend line, I'm thinking about adding into here and then waiting for the high, which is at 215. So take some out in front, and if we break the trend line, look for some kind of an add to the upside. Again, you already mentioned Intel, so I want to go to AMD for everybody. Trying to bid, but it's not. This can't get back into the volume weighted average price or even prior day lows. So going into earnings tonight, where obviously, given their valuation, a lot is going to be at stake. We said the same thing about Palantir, and they were able to blow it out of the water. But a lot's going to be at stake. They're selling off, or taking profit is a better way to put it in AMD, as it's been a super strong stock going into this print.
Yeah, I just can't believe we're still, I mean, like AMD tonight into that report. We'll see what they wind up doing there. But what's up, Lyndon Meyer? Yeah, it was right here. I have it up right now. It was this silver short. It was just, wow. I actually had more shares on the TQQs than I did on this. Well, no, I think I had more on the silver trade. This was it. So this was, we loaded it there on VWAP, we loaded it again on VWAP, and then it was literally a 90 short. I think we had like even higher than 90, and then it just fell down, and we were able to hold through this. We got some 80s, so that was like $10, and then it even kept going lower. This, I just screen capped this when we did it, so that was at 137 there. Oh, nice one, JD. Thank you so much. Sorry I missed all these right there, guys. But yeah, there it is right there. So yeah, that was a big one. That was like literally one of my biggest, I said for the show, biggest trade for me there. So yeah, that's what that was on that trade. Thanks for asking about that. And yeah, we just, we're here to tell you guys, like when the big trade is on, we might as well tell you guys. And so Intel, again, we did talk about maybe losing that bid right there at the 50 period moving average. I heard Neil mention as well. So there's a nice downside play there for Intel, but this is now $3. This is now 400 handles or almost more than that in the money on the Nasdaq as we just keep on bleeding. And like I said, like there would have been the first, like that probably should have been our first out right there because I wanted to use the 25 period.
Heyo.
When he's allowed to do that, I mean, the guy brings us all these drinks and everything. He can make some mistakes every once in a while there. Too many espressos for Randy. The hands are getting jittery over there, my guy. Yeah, so just continue to watch this thing bleed to the downside. So maybe we do get a downside continuation there for the NASDAQ. But nothing else is really coming in. I mean, Apple would be the one that's trying to hold out. Like, you want to talk about this pretty epic move down, man. You're down. We have this might be better than that than that silver trade, but this NASDAQ, like, did not think this. The reason why I thought about short, we have the government shutdown talk, potentially that JOLTS number, obviously that didn't come through as well, but you could see as the market tries to bleed to the downside, names like Apple continue to hold out. SoFi is actually not doing that bad. They're still green on the day. They catch that JP Morgan upgrade. I really like SoFi there. But yeah, this has been the name for me today, just an absolute bleed. And, you know, I wish that we would have been able to follow our own sort of strategy there and hold out for the 21 period moving average. But we didn't. And yeah, the rest is history. We'll always do a little bit better next time. So yeah, what's the super chat?
Throw it up. Leroy? I don't know. Sorry, I can't. It's hard to pronounce that name.
Yeah, Leroy.
Is it Leroy?
I think so.
Okay, let's call it Leroy. Can Ford break the 1395? That's oddly specific, Leroy. Will Palantir rebound? Stay tuned. Before we get there, this is why you should trade with stops. I don't know what just happened in IBIT, but my stop was at that 44 level and it just shot through, so we're able to get out. And if you don't throw a stop here, then you're probably, that'd be red on the stock because I don't know where your execution is going to be if you try to manually do that after this kind of a spike. But look at the reversal candle on IBIT. So I don't know if something just happened. I didn't hear anything in my ear, but keep an eye on crypto if you can. Ford in 1395. Oh, well, but it had broken 1395 several times. I guess this is the resistance you're talking about, but it is breaking the top, which is adjacent to the 95. Maybe not exactly. It's just not that significant a level on a higher time frame. Like, yes, someone was holding it there for 15 minutes or so, but zoom out a bit, and I would say this 1410 has a little bit more significance. Why Ford is up when the market is weak? Your guess would be as good as mine. I haven't really tracked it, but yeah, it looks like it's a strong one. I think on a day like today, you could do worse than anything which is green, to be honest with you. Palantir, until it fills in, if it filled in the entirety of the gap, down to here to 151, I think it would be worth taking some kind of a reversion shot. But I'm not, I think you give this the 2 or 3 day rule. I don't like that you're losing this 200 period moving average on this move. So I'd wait this one out a little bit longer for PLTR. It feels like a heavy amount of profit taking in here. And that 200 period was a big celebration level for us last night. So I'm not looking for the buy on this stock until maybe later today or give it a couple of days at best. Was that Adara?
Here, guys, U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson saying that the House is going to suggest moving forward with legislation to bring the, quote, short government shutdown to a close today. So again, House Speaker Mike Johnson indicating that the House is trying to move to end this shutdown today. Back to you.
Okay.
Well, you'd think that'd be good news.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea to do that. I'm not willing to reverse long into TQs until we break this 50 period moving average, which will be 53.80. So we have a little piece left. I mean, it's bouncing off of the 25 period. I changed it to 25. I just wanted to go half. So 25, 50, 200 VWAP right now, if you're talking about which lines I'm using. So that's kind of what we're looking at right there. But yeah, the short, I don't know if it's done or not, but I'm just going to keep bidding some of these out as we get less and less, man. We're now down to like 3% left of this trade. So that's why I'm now looking to say, like, what else can we try to figure out here? Looks like that Intel call was a banger, but unfortunately, you know, got me out of it right there, which kind of sucks. But back up there to VWAP. So I really, really think that Intel is going to be a bid down there. I couldn't withstand that kind of a move downside there, especially as we were sitting in the short of the market and just already thinking short. So that was a little bit of an issue there for me on that one, but that's okay. We'll move forward with Intel. And then just on that note, because I only have one other trade, I mean, like I said, I'm trying to look at what we have on our sheet here. We had SLV, SoFi, Intel, and Apple. So the one name that I'm thinking about maybe catching a bid right now, because it's finally starting to break through that 50 period moving average, that would be SoFi right now back to the upside here as a potential move long through that area. I feel like it needs to break like 2240 there, and then we can use 2230 maybe as our out. So that 2240 break might be something to think about there for SoFi if you are looking for a long. Obviously, the market keeps on cracking lower, but SoFi might have found a little bit of a bottom down there near 22. I bought some in my account this morning, so let's wait to see if this is going to be a bottom, but that's for the longer term trade, and we did try SoFi there. SoFi is basically a flat trade for me. Intel's obviously the one that we've lost, but just to let you guys know, like what we lost on Intel, fraction, obviously, of what we put on the TQQs. So Intel maybe making a move back in, and then Nvidia on that Sam Altman talk last night, not very positive, but we did get a nice bounce back in Nvidia today, and then down it goes, right? I think I mentioned, like, we didn't want to trade Nvidia today. There wasn't really a catalyst to see a directional play, and so it's just following the market and just absolutely bleeding down. There goes Nvidia down 3% to follow probably with what AMD may experience tonight as well. AMD's waiting for their report. Like, when you put out one of the best reports of the season in Palantir, and then you drop down 6%.
It's not a good sign.
It was up 12. It's definitely not a good sign.
What the heck's AMD supposed to do now?
Yeah, who knows? We had mentioned there 42.50 maybe as a break for PayPal. That's really done nothing since open.
It's like it's down so much. What's it supposed to do?
Well, I think it's supposed to break the lows. But, I mean, it did break 42.50, but then it didn't do anything. So up and down. And, yeah, this is why I said, remember I said this reminds me of Intel? Like, I feel like it could just stay down here for a while until it pops back up. But obviously, one day does not make a PayPal.
If it's still here next month,
yeah,
it's a long. That's why I look. If it's at this same, if PayPal's at the same level without breaking a low 1 month from now, then you take a shot at the long. But a month is a long way away. But Adara is just a few feet away.
Yeah.
Just to be aware here, guys, Nelson Peltz speaking right now with Wall Street Journal Invest Live. If you're wondering why this name kind of sounds familiar, Nelson Peltz is the founder, or rather co-founder and CEO here of Trion Partners. He also was involved in that Disney bid attempt to take over the board back in April of 2024, and he's also the father-in-law of Brooklyn Beckham. Right now, he's speaking about AI and not in a particularly positive way, saying that he does expect there to be a bump in the road, quote unquote, when it comes to AI taking over jobs formerly held by employees. He also said, quote, there will be some pain and a rough period here with AI. Again, Nelson Peltz speaking on AI right now, guys. Back to you.
Yes, it's the doom and gloom of AI taking everybody's jobs. Everything is always taking everybody's jobs, and eventually there's always adjustment. There is always shakeup and disruption, no questions asked, but seem to figure it out and do a very good job of figuring it out at the end of the day. So we were sort of talking about how silver is inside the range. It's still doing it, and I haven't really changed anything. It's trying to break this trend, SLV. So if I was looking at SLV, it would look like, I got to zoom in so you can see this a little bit better. There you go. On SLV, it's making these nice higher lows. So ZSL, I'm just waiting for it to show me the break. So if silver breaks down from that trend line, obviously that will mean ZSL breaks up, and then it's an add long, and then look for that press into said highs. CCL, which was the early long, is still trending back in. So this one just didn't set up. It's now lost the prior day high, so this is done as far as I'm concerned. You need to hold on to that top, but we did suspect 33 could be a bit of a problem. It's been through this time and time again to this level. So it did break out, but once it got to 33, turn around. So same old, same old. Intel we already talked about. And IBIT, the weird spike is holding. So we were short down around the 44 level. That spike up on decent enough volume, not huge, is now holding a higher low. So I'm not inclined to jump back into this one to the short side just yet. Not until I can see us lose VWAP. And we have another super chat. Throw it up there if you can, Andre. Arif, good morning. What do you think about Microsoft at these lows? Ugh. I don't know if I can say anything good about Microsoft. Microsoft really needed to hold on to the 420, and it didn't do so. Load chart, and it didn't do so today. You'll see why in a second in this daily chart. It's so bad that the daily chart's like, no, you don't want to see this, trust me. So see this gap here? Like the gap goes, it's April 30th of last year. You have this big gap upside, and then the steadiest crazy uptrend that I've seen in a Mag 7 for a while. Like it had no volatile days while basically just going straight up for 3 months on Microsoft. And it started at 420, and now you got this gap down to about 395, 400 that it looks like it's filling back in. So I would say let it at least fill in that gap and wait for the 400 level out there on Softy if you like it. It's shooting the gap right now. There's no need to catch the falling knife. Not saying all gaps get filled, but this seems like a pretty clear one now. If it wasn't going to hold 420 this week, wait for the 400 level on Softy. I think there's going to be a buy opportunity here. How do you feel about Microsoft 5 years from now, 10 years from now? I would say most people say pretty good. So you're looking for and waiting for a spot to buy it. If you're going to put 10% in, yeah, put in 10% now, maybe 20% if you're looking to dip buy the stock. But if you're just trying to get it all in one spot, it's losing support today. That's not when I try to get in. Not all of it anyway.
Oh boy. Okay. We are really enjoying today's trade. There it comes again, right down to the downside. It looks like there is no sort of love lost here for the Nasdaq. Just right back into the lows. Like I was just saying, man. Like unfortunately, we don't have you know, many shares left, but we're just gonna start to get out. Like I don't, you know, I want to start to think about a long, and I can't, you know, physically do that if we are stuck in short and futures. So we'll empty it out. Doesn't mean that I do want to get into the long, but I think, you know, Apple's fallen right back into a level that if I think the market's going to start to bid a little bit here, why not try something in and around here for some Apple? So we'll bid some 20s. We'll get a little piece now. We'll start building like a quarter of our position or so. We'll take a little bit more if it does come into O's, which it's doing right now, and then maybe just like where's a level, because just because we like the long doesn't mean it is a long, you know. So where are the levels where potentially we're wrong? I mean, maybe just 267.50 or so would be like sort of the last stab that we may take at this. So now that I have about a third of a unit, and I'm trying to get like maybe 3 or 4 units. So we're just into a baby position right now for Apple. So let's give this a little bit of a look and see if we can do a little bit better on this trade. But 267.50. Let me put something down here at 267, like 75. We'll see if we can average into this trade a little bit. Hopefully it comes out, and we'll be able to put a trade on here for Apple, finally falling into the level that we talked about. And you can, you know, we just sort of put this up here on Twitter. We've been putting it, like we first started talking about this a long time ago, but there's a down 2.64%, and then there's a continued play. And I just want to know, oh man, more people here with, you know, this is one thing that Elon's got to do, man. He's got to fix up the Twitter experience here. But there it is, man. Boom to the downside. So nice move as we continue to go down. Put your trades below, and you'll be able to find out where that next winner is. But it's a nice move to the downside now on the TQQs and continually going there. There's our Apple trade, by the way. We put it on, and now it's working out there for Apple. So only in the money 15 cents, but let's see if it can get back up. First out, maybe at this 200 period, 268.70. Let's put an offer there and see if we can grab that on Apple for our first little spot out. So 268.70 or so for Apple. We'll see what winds up happening there. Tesla on a run right now, like crazy. Yeah, big time. Nice move there for Tesla. We mentioned 420 bottom, right? If you took it, you're $6 in the money. But there goes Tesla. I really love to trade that name. Could be a good runner there for days, man. Tesla. Let's wait to see what winds up happening on this one. Up 1% in a market that's kind of puking downside.
Yeah, as you say that, even Rivian's up 2%. Randy just said it is. So this could regain that 200 period moving average. The last time we talked about this, I said when it was under the 200, it held this 200 for quite some time. If it just dips and immediately rejects and breaks out for 15, I think that's a good little swing entry. It has to close above 15. That clearly hasn't happened yet. But the second I heard you say Tesla was strong, I'm like, oh, I wonder what Rivian's doing. Is it setting up this bounce trade potentially on this daily chart? Could be, but I don't know that you're there just yet. Not enough strength. Still tracking. This SLV just does not want to do much today. Like we're just sitting here in this wedge, but this plays in both directions, right? Like you've got higher lows and lower highs into a bit of a wedge trade. It's now coming to a head. In the next couple of minutes, I think we break away. Obviously, if this breaks to the upside, then I'm going to be getting out of ZSL. If it breaks to the downside, then I'm going to be adding to ZSL, which is an inverse of silver. Let's go to Adara for Sector Watch.
Talk about sectoral moves. Yes, there is a noted divide between the performance of some of these names or some of these sectors, and other sectors. But within these sectors, generally things are moving in tandem. Health tech mostly weak here. Commercial services very weak across the board. Consumer service is the only one that's kind of mixed here. We've got, I believe this is Starbucks, up about 3%. Yes, that's Starbucks. McDonald's and Comcast also to the upside, but Booking Holdings down nearly 7%. Finance a little bit mixed here as well, but let's talk about the sectors that are kind of all moving together. Tons of strength in consumer non-durables, tons of strength in energy, minerals, process industries, consumer durables, utilities, industrial services to the upside, and communications also strong. Now, if you look at these tech sectors, both of these are going to be generally pretty weak. Now, tech services, a lot of the names here are red, with the notable exception of Palantir, still to the upside despite pulling back pretty heavily after earnings. And when I say pulling back, I mean pulling back from its post-earnings reaction high. Electronic technology, kind of mixed as well here. Nvidia, Apple, Broadcom, and Micron all selling off to varying degrees. Broadcom by far the weakest in this group, though. We do have some strength here in Intel. We know INTC striking that deal with a SoftBank subsidiary with regards to memory. RTX and Cisco also strong. So I think electronic tech is certainly a lot more mixed than tech services, but keep an eye on these tech services names over the next couple of days, guys. A lot of these are down 5% or more. Back to you.
I would say the most notable, the most notable name in terms of percent down, when you're looking at that 5% mark, would be IBM.
Yes, they're down 6%.
Yeah, like there's some
8%. Wow.
Like some stocks go down 7%. You're like, okay, well that's how they move. Not IBM. IBM in one day to move like this, it doesn't do it. Granted, it's been holding this exact same range for 3 months now. So all you've done is travel inside of the range, but it's now failed at 320 several times in here. And I would, like, if this thing fails a 200-period moving average, I think that turns into into a value DCA. But it is at the bottom of the range, but it easily stands out because that's a flat bottom break through 290 if it does happen in today's session at least. No, it easily stands. 7.5% for IBM is easily the most.
I love the level it's at.
No, it's at a fantastic level, but it's a level on the daily, and every time it's bounced here, it's usually been like a multi-day event. Like you haven't had to buy it on the first day, except for this one time. You can buy it on the second or third day, and you're just as good off, or just as well off.
Right, about that. There it is, man. We talked about buying some Apple on that move down, and oh boy, did we ever do that. So there it goes, man. Huge trade, honestly. I know I keep saying it, but like these are the levels that we wanted to. We're playing with house money now today, so we don't want to get foolish with it, but we're feeling a little bit better about ourselves. When you put some wins together, this is sort of what can happen. So, you know, feeling more confident, and there it goes, right? You know, I saw Obi talking about being self-aware and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, we talked about this with gambling. When you're seeing the board right and you got that hot hand, right? I mean, that's that call there on Apple. I mean, we had sort of not screwed it up, but we had made similar calls on Intel that didn't work. I felt the same way about this trade right there that I do now about Apple. So I'm trying to clear it out and not try to feel like too convinced, because it did punch me in the face on Intel a little bit there. But, you know, this is a trade that I like, and we'll see if we can continue. I'm going to try to get some out at 2268.30. I'm sitting there right now. There it is. We get a fill there. Now it's starting to blow up. This is now 65 cents, 75 cents now in the money on Apple as wow. Okay. Nice move back to the upside here on AAPL. This is going to be hopefully a bigger trade that develops now on Apple. So whether or not we have the low or not, I'm not sure, but oh man, we waited for it, and it's just about following the plans at the end of the day, right? I mean, we tried it on Intel, we tried it on SoFi, and there it is, man. The number one trade for me today was going to be Apple long at 268, and that's exactly what we just put on. We're actually long at 267. 75, 78s right now, but there goes Apple busting that long, and it just came into us. So we were going to exit out of some of the TQ trade and get into Apple. So now that Apple's blasting forward, we like that. And then the Qs are still going lower. So I'm going to exit a little bit more of Apple up near this level here and see if we can. There it is, through 36s, through 37s. But nice little move there on AAPL. I feel like that Tesla story about xAI and SpaceX and all that is a good story for Tesla. But we'll see what that means moving forward for xAI, SpaceX, and Tesla ability to raise money and whatnot. But
raise money at will.
Yeah, that's why I like it so much, and I really dislike that story for OpenAI. Adara, did we ever get a story on IBM?
No.
Because like, yo, what's up, Salvador, man? Real traders stay late, and today we're staying late again. But shout out to you, Salvador, right there. You are now in the money on that Apple trade, which is great. You got it at 267.97. Let's go, man. Out of 65% of your shares. Well, you're turning into like a little Joe, man. You like a little mini me over there, Salvador? I like that one there. Good call, Salvador. But we are now almost again, into the dollar club right now for Apple. So yeah, buddy, that just came in quite nicely there for AAPL. Now we are officially into that dollar club. So yeah, good job over there right now. Neil just chilling in ZSL. We've got Apple huge, TQQ huge. We're sitting in about $4 right now.
It's a chilling kind of day. Like,
yeah, man.
Knock on wood, hasn't been a loser yet, but the day is still early. Adair, did you have something on IBM?
No, I was just going to say, at this point, IBM eludes me. I check social media, I check Benzinga, I check Google. This is goose eggs as of right now.
And it's understandable to be questioning it. Like I said, like it's not the kind of stock that's going to move that way. So you'd suspect it could be it could be a quantum related thing. Obviously, let's be realistic about that. So I saw someone in the chat also mentioning the same thing. Thank you to Salvador in the chat. Learning from the best. And again, at the end of the day, every trader has to find their niche. I think we're glad in like 10 minutes or so, you're going to see the Midday boys come in to look at some small caps. It hasn't really been much of a small cap morning. Outside, ZSL doesn't really count. I know Sharif talks about it like a small capper, but we're talking about silver. Silver is the biggest market out there. Well, it's one of the biggest metals markets out there, obviously next to gold, and the market cap is gigantic. ZSL just happens to be $2, but it's doing hundreds of millions of shares. I wouldn't necessarily call this a small capper, and that's where you get to see some of the opportunities to trade out there. The only thing that matters, and I know everyone is going to be looking at different things, trading them in a different manner, and wanting to only get better. Just remember, whatever you trade, whatever your style is, you want to stick to what works for you. So some traders like to have very defined entries and exits. Other traders like to go by look and feel and that kind of a thing. But you just, again, like you have to find what works for you. I'm back into IBIT off of VWAP. I want to give it to 420 effectively. So I like that volume weighted average price, but it seems like it's catching, whoops, the other way. Different stop order I want to use. I find that the last time it got down here, there was a huge volume spike that took it all the way through VWAP. This time it's bouncing, but without that same gigantic volume spike that we can see. But also ZSL, it looks like silver might break in the other direction. And if it does, I'm out of this bid. Still like this for a long trade. And again, like I said, being patient for your entries. Like I wait all morning for one trend break on silver. For CCL, effectively just one pullback into the high. With Intel, it was just one shot. One shot off VWAP to the low of the day and then the prior day high. And then once that trade is made, I'm perfectly willing to hit it and quit it and just do whatever works for you. Like it's already been a good start to February. You're just sort of building on whatever it is that you did before. And then I want to jump over to some other names that we have not been able to cover. Obviously you can see that Nvidia is having a bad day, down 2.5%, almost a little bit more than that actually. There are no gigantic levels down here till you get to under 180. But it feels like a mean reversion type of level for Nvidia. I'd be a little bit more inclined to look for something stronger, however, that is not NVDA. And I was thinking maybe, we'll go to Adair for Money Talks, but one of the names I was thinking about was SMCI, which hasn't broken yesterday's lows and bounced off where it broke out from. I know it's a weird thing to say to call SMCI a stronger stock than Nvidia, but today at least is. Let's go to Adair. It's time to get to Money Talks, look at how the US dollar is handling things.
It's actually a pretty interesting one today, not necessarily in terms of action here on the DXY chart, that we are finding some resistance at the prior level of support going back to the end of December. That level would be roughly 97.7. No, what I want to talk about, Neil, Sean, and everybody, is just A, the economic data situation with this brief shutdown, and B, commentary coming from Feds. And I use the term Feds kind of loosely here, which I'll explain in a minute. But let's start here with the economic data. We didn't get JOLTS job openings or job quits this morning at 10 a.m. They were expected to be released. It was kind of on the fence as to if they would be released due to the shutdown, but they didn't end up coming out. Now, we also have already heard that NFP data on Friday is being delayed Not sure if it's going to be released at some point here, but BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, came out yesterday during the midday, said that, hey, we're not going to be releasing this NFP data on Friday now. So that for sure is not going to be coming out. However, on Friday, we do get some economic data of note, being the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment, which does have an inflation aspect. So there will be some data, even if some of these prints we were really excited about, specifically in the job space, are definitely not coming through. Now, the other thing I want to mention are Fed comments. And when I say Fed comments, it's a bit rough because these comments are coming from Myron and Bostic, both of whom will not be with the Fed at the next meeting. Myron's already done. Fed's Bostic term comes to an end by his choice at the end of February. So, again, keep these comments in mind. These people are not really going to be voting or participating in meetings anymore. Yesterday, Fed's Bostic coming out saying that he actually didn't see any rate cuts this year. Meanwhile, Fed's Myron coming out saying that he thinks they should cut rates by a full point this year. So again, interesting talking points, and also a little bit easier to look at kind of with a zoomed out in a bird's eye view, because again, these individuals can no longer participate in Fed meetings. But either way, seems like that Fed dissent we've been seeing in terms of the meetings is still showing up in comments as well. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Adara, for that one, and we really do appreciate all of the comments that you guys throw through there. And I love this because this is Sharif's nickname for me, Katina Man. So what's up to everybody out there? Thanks for all the love there. Yeah, it's not really gut trading. It's just, you know, we wrote down these levels and we got to take it, right? And then sometimes you do hear the stories, and that's where you can kind of just get right into there. But we do appreciate all of that, right? Really positive talk, and thanks for all of that one. And as Apple now goes, of course, clubbing, you know, not only have we hopefully created some good trades today, but hopefully we can create a good lunchtime experience for everybody around here. Ooh, change in menu this morning. Okay. All right.
Oh, no.
Oh, I see what it is. Okay, fried noodles instead of brown rice. Okay, so that's fine. Not a big thing. I will read this as we got an update from the caterer there today. But, you know, whatever, man. It could be worms. It doesn't matter for me. We're having such a great day here today. It doesn't even matter what this food is. But today, remember Fear Factor? They were eating those crazy, stupid things there. Shout out to Joe Rogan on Fear Factor.
I'm going to tell you something you don't know about me, Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Joe Rogan,
smoke
actually. You know what? I've never watched one episode of his podcast. That's crazy, eh? Okay, honey garlic beef stir fry. So I like that one, man. I mean, we'll hit the hot dog gun for that one. It's been like a chicken bonanza at my house lately. All right, so honey garlic beef stir fry with fried vegetables, and here's the change. It was supposed to be brown rice, but now it's apparently some sort of a rice noodle coming through with a salad. I like that. That's going to be an absolutely banger. Props up to these guys, man. The beef is always pretty good around here. So we like that one, man. Honey, we had teriyaki chicken with broccoli last night.
Yeah, that's
the wife crushed that. And
it's the noodles. I don't know. Sometimes they give way too much. Because we get like the salad lunch, and I find like I don't want like a heavy portion of noodles with a salad lunch. It just feels like that's goes against what you're trying to accomplish with the salad lunch. Really tasty, I think.
Yeah, I think that'd be absolutely fantastic right there. Look, thanks for watching, man. This has been honestly just a crazy show. I feel like we've really hit a lot of trades today that have really worked out, you know, and I think we also showed a great opportunity to show discipline as well, right? Like getting in and getting out right there, and just putting up some of those statistics that we needed to. That was Intel there, and this is SoFi as well, like in and out. Like SoFi, I just heard Sharif do his best SoFi impression over there, but SoFi is not so good. Right there to the downside as that continues to bleed a little bit lower. But we are at the highest spot we've now been at all day. It is another one right there for Apple, as now Apple is now $1.70 now in the money as that continues to go. So we're trading the biggest and the baddest of the names here today, and that is, thank you, Sharif, man, much appreciated on that. There it goes, man, right up there. We have the absolute low print of the day on Apple, and we just took it out at VWAP, and we continue to climb higher. And we also said that this could be, you know, a monster trade off those levels. So there it goes, man. Glad you guys are here with us, and let's just keep on going today. It's going to be a great midday show as well with Sharif and Joe. So we're super excited to bring you guys that show as well. And then you'll have a lesson of the day, I guess, with Neil at noon. I'll be at the gym and coming back to talk to you guys all about trading again at 2 p.m. So you're safe. You don't need to hear me again until 2 p.m. Now $2 in the money over here. Wow. This has been a special day.
That's what it's all about. Great start to the month. Follow up your January with a good start to Feb. But I did say I would get out of ZSL. If silver's not going to move, then I got to respect the fact it's not going to move. I'll wait all day long for this trend break if it comes again. But if it doesn't, then I don't have to trade it. I also said I wouldn't trade Warner Brothers, but then when Adara said the news isn't until the afternoon, then whatever. I'll just go right back to the well with this. It's effectively the same thing as usual. There's a wick bottom. I like trend breaks. If it's not going to give me 27, high, which is the price, then I'm going to go long into the top. Scalps limit to VWAP and then hold the rest for the high of the day. Whenever we have this event with the board, it's a hearing, I suppose, on the deal, then I'll back off the trade and tighten up the stop on it. But at least for now, it looks to be good to go. And one more for you. If we are still looking at Intel, at least I am, this seems like it wants to break the volume-weighted average price, but it's right in here. I think it can take VWAP. Like the last time it took VWAP and was still a short, it could take VWAP, get to that 50-50, and then look for a reload. Instead of trying to catch it just straight up off the volume-weighted average price, I might look for it at that 50-50 level for a little continuation on that bad boy. Market's catching a good bid. I like the fact that this is holding VWAP, but it's already there before the Nasdaq got there, which means it's got some strength. Tiny bit of strength to it. Oh, I said one more, but I just went to pay for locates on GameStop. Wow. GameStop back under 25 bucks. Huge level on the daily. It's rejecting VWAP. I'm paying for locates because I want to short a continuation play here. Respected VWAP once, respected VWAP twice. That sets it up for a bit of a turn, down 4%. Like the little head and shoulders look, I think for a play here, just to back into the lows, works for me on GME. But it wasn't free. Here at Real Trading, we pay pennies to be able to get these locates on GameStop. Understandably, not everybody can short it, but we can.
Okay, 250 now. I don't know what to do with this Apple. I mean, we always say that we're getting out of too many shares, but we still have about a third left of this one as it's just like screaming here to the moon. 270 and change now. Again, stick with the guns there, and you will be fine on that one. Disney, quick little look to see what that's doing, down to 102, looking like it wants to break the lows here as well. DIS, grab your Disney shares whenever you can, right there as well. Follow Intel to the basement, maybe. Watch out for Disney there, and then IBM. This is the one that's the most interesting to me. We don't even have a story on this, and this is now down 8% on IBM right now, as the whole market is really just getting a little reweighting today, down another 1%. I don't think it's anything to worry about. The market can definitely gather these back. I mean, Google's still positive on the day as well. That's a big spot in the old portfolio. Meta we've got in the portfolio as well. That's down 1%. Obviously, we've got Microsoft and all these names, but it's really Nvidia that has shown some, some scratches here today. Wow, we are now $3 in on this trade right now. What an absolutely monster move there. We're sitting now in $5 right here. We've got $2 on TQs, and now we've got $3 on Apple as it just continues to extend out, again, off the number one trade idea on the sticky note. Apple, just buy the strength from yesterday. We talked about that. We saw how crazy that stock looked there yesterday, and what it's doing today. That's yesterday's move. This is today. I mean, how patient is this, man? 1040 we got into our number one idea. So, let's just get another piece out there and see what winds up happening, man. Yeah, we kind of are on fire here as it continues to move higher with Apple. So thanks for that comment there in the chat.
Yes, sir. Before, I know it's 11 o'clock, just turning it right now, but we got one question in here. AMG Ronaldo, it's a good thought, because when you're weak over here, sometimes people look at some other things. And EU tech stocks being down 4%, making the biggest one-day drop since April 2025. I think when you see this kind of weakness, sometimes we've had rotation away from the US to other places. Today, the rotation is everything in tech is most of the things in tech are looking weak, especially if it's related to AI in any regard, and then things that have a bit of a moat around AI which obviously you're talking about like your Walmarts, your Caterpillars, in there Pepsi, Procter & Gamble, like those types of names are doing much, much better, except for this, Joe Stugatz. Yeah, for some reason, G. Vernova, in a day where tech is weak, does not care. G. Vernova refuses to pull back with its brethren. I can't explain